Chapter 1255. But now, the situation had changed. The Nine Heaven Sword sect, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and the Divine Dragon Valley had gathered. Even if the Celestial Divine sect did not choose Lu Ming, there was a possibility that he would join the other three sections. Young Master Lin would never allow such a thing to happen. Therefore, he stood out and stood in front of Lu Ming. Many people looked at young Master Lin in surprise, not understanding what was going on. But some people were enlightened because they knew about the conflict between Lu Ming and young Master Lin. Half a day ago, Lu Ming and young Master Lin had a conflict and even fought. In the end, young Master Lin could not do anything to Lu Ming. I knew it would not end like this. What? There's such a thing? Lu Ming is so powerful that even the Sky Prides of the Heavenly God sect can't do anything to him? I think young Master Lin did not use his full strength. But Lu Ming's combat strength is too terrifying. If I did not see it with my own eyes, I would not believe it. Many people were discussing. Many people were shocked when they heard about the conflict between Lu Ming and young Master Lin. The white-haired elder and the others of the Heavenly God sect were surprised, but they did not say anything. The people of the other sects looked on with interest. What do you want? Lu Ming frowned and said coldly. You are not qualified to enter the Void Passage and participate in the test. Young Master Lin said. Ridiculous. You think I'm not qualified just because you say so? Lu Ming sneered. Deacon! At this moment young Master Lin cupped his fists at the white-haired elder and said, Deacon, Lu Ming has no respect for the Celestial Deity sect. He thinks that he has some talent, but he doesn't take the Celestial Deity sect seriously. If such a person joins the Celestial Deity sect, he will be an arrogant and unruly person. He is not worthy of being nurtured by the Celestial Deity sect. Oh? There's such a thing? The white-haired elder frowned. Haha, what nonsense. When have I been disrespectful to the Heavenly God sect? If I don't bow to you, is that disrespectful to the Heavenly God sect? Lu Ming sneered. Lu Ming, don't try to quibble. I heard you speak arrogantly and look down on my Heavenly God sect. Also, Ice Dragon can testify. Young Master Lin said. That's right, this is true. Ice Dragon said coldly. Not only that, Vice Deacon Zhao can also testify. Young Master Lin looked at the middle-aged man behind the white-haired old man. This middle-aged man was the one who had taken young Master Lin away. At this moment, the middle-aged man nodded and said, There is indeed such a thing. The fact that two people had come forward to testify caused the white-haired old man to frown even more. He pondered for a moment and said, If that's the case, then this kid doesn't need to participate in the trial. Young Master Lin was overjoyed at his words. Lu Ming, on the other hand, burst into laughter. This was blatant slander. From the beginning to the end, Lu Ming had only targeted young Master Lin. He had never said a single bad word about the Celestial God sect. This was purely false. Also, that middle-aged man had obviously colluded with young Master Lin. Who knew what benefits young Master Lin had given him? No one from the other three major sects spoke. In their eyes, Lu Ming was just an insignificant character. They did not take him seriously at all. Ridiculous! This is really ridiculous! Is this the disciple of a major sect in Yuanlu? His talent is average and his character is even worse. Lu Ming laughed out loud, his eyes filled with mockery. Kid, what did you say? Who are you calling average? Young Master Lin was furious. Of course I'm talking about you. If the Celestial God sect is like you, then I don't mind not joining the Celestial God sect. Lu Ming mocked. Presumptuous! How dare you! The middle-aged man from the Celestial God sect and young Master Lin both shouted in an overbearing manner. Kid, you escaped death last time. This time, you're dead. Young Master Lin's eyes were cold, and his killing intent was extremely dense. It shrouded Lu Ming. I escaped death last time? Are you sure you're not the one who escaped death last time? All right, I'll challenge you in front of everyone now. I'll defeat you in 10 moves. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Lu Ming took a step forward. His voice was filled with battle intent, and it spread far and wide. What? Lu Ming challenged young Master Lin and said he'll defeat him in 10 moves. Crazy, he's crazy. He's definitely crazy. That's the supreme talent of the Celestial God sect. Lu Ming's words caused an uproar. The Celestial God sect was a major sect in Yuanlu. In the hearts of the people in the Divine Ruins mainland, it was a high and mighty existence. It was an unfathomable and powerful force. The supreme talent of the Celestial God sect was a peerless existence in the hearts of the people. Now, Lu Ming had challenged young Master Lin. What was even more exaggerated was that he wanted to defeat young Master Lin in 10 moves. How was that possible? No one would believe it. At that moment, some of the supreme talents who had not flown into the light door stopped. They were not in a hurry to go in. Instead, they stood outside and watched. Lu Ming is strong in the Divine Wilderness mainland. However, he still dares to be so arrogant here. He even dares to offend the supreme talent of the Celestial God sect. He's courting his own death. Underworld Child stood in the air and sneered. What do you know? I don't think so. A voice was heard. It was Long Chen's voice. Underworld Child's expression changed slightly. He was very wary of Long Chen. However, he felt disdain in his heart. He thought to himself, just wait and see. This Lu Ming will die miserably. At that moment, almost everyone's gaze fell on young Master Lin. A supreme talent from a small continent had challenged the supreme talent of the Celestial God sect. Would young Master Lin accept the challenge? If he didn't accept the challenge, he would lose all his face. If this matter was spread to the Celestial God sect, he wouldn't be able to show his face anymore. Damn it! Young Master Lin roared in his heart. His eyes were extremely cold as he said, All right. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. When he fought with Lu Ming previously, he didn't use his full strength. He was confident that if he used his full strength, he would definitely be able to kill Lu Ming. Needless to say, it was impossible for Lu Ming to defeat him within 10 moves. Kill! Young Master Lin was filled with killing intent. His aura was shocking as a green light filled the air. A bloodline appeared above his head. Young Master Lin used his full strength right from the start. He executed the bloodline fusion technique to the maximum and charged towards Lu Ming. Roar! Roar! Dragon roars sounded from Lu Ming's body. 9 streaks of dragon energy burst out instantly. At the same time, the third bloodline appeared. Swoosh! Lu Ming took a step forward and charged towards young Master Lin. As he charged, the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared. When Lu Ming's 9 dragons' bloodline appeared, the experts of the Divine Dragon Valley widened their eyes in shock. This is the 9 dragons' bloodline! It really is the 9 dragons' bloodline! I can't believe someone can awaken the 9 dragons' bloodline in this world! Voices of disbelief were heard from the experts of the Divine Dragon Valley. The Divine Dragon Valley wants this kid! The leader of the Dragon God Valley was a burly man with a burning gaze. As the name suggested, the Divine Dragon Valley was related to dragons. Now that they saw the 9 dragons' bloodline, it was too shocking. Bam! Bam! Chapter 1256. Once Lu Ming made his move, apart from a few trump cards that he did not use, he used almost all his strength. Some of the 9 dragon claws were shining with lightning. They were using the Thunder Intent Realm Martial Technique, Thunder God Strike. The other dragon claws were using the Suppressing Hell Art. The combination of the two was terrifying. Young Master Lin's green wings brought with it endless wind. With a flap of his wings, countless wind blades cut through the space and attacked Lu Ming. With a series of explosions, the dragon claws broke through the wind blades and grabbed at young Master Lin. Young Master Lin's expression changed. He was shocked. He didn't expect that he would be at a disadvantage after using the bloodline fusion. Shwa! He flapped his wings and a hurricane swept out. His huge body suddenly shook and disappeared, appearing on the other side. Another Intent Realm Martial Technique! Lu Ming frowned. Young Master Lin had obviously mastered more than one intent realm martial technique. He had mastered 2 or even more. Before, young Master Lin had used an offensive intent realm martial technique. But now, he was using a movement intent realm martial technique. In addition, he had mainly comprehended the wind intent realm, which made his speed extremely fast. Die! Young Master Lin's eyes were cold. He flapped his wings again, and his body turned into a gust of wind, disappearing on the spot. At the same time, Lu Ming felt a terrifying sense of danger. Roar! A dragon roar sounded and a devouring power burst out, covering 100 miles. Then, the dragon swung its tail and swept in all directions. Pun! The dragon tail pierced through the void and clashed with a pair of sharp wings. Then, young Master Lin's body was pushed back. But young Master Lin flapped his wings again and disappeared. Young Master Lin had used 2 intent realm martial techniques together. His combat strength was indeed very strong. It was difficult to fight against someone of the same level. However, he had met Lu Ming. Shwa! Shwa! The 9 dragon claws suddenly formed a strange seal. At this moment, 2 sharp auras slashed at Lu Ming. I've been waiting for you! Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. 3 sealed doors suddenly appeared and landed on Lu Ming's left side, emitting a bright light. The 9 seals of the God Gate sealed everything. As soon as the 3 sealed doors appeared, young Master Lin's cyan-winged figure suddenly appeared and was suppressed in the middle of the 3 sealed doors. Break, break! Young Master Lin bellowed. Green light flared up like a tidal wave as it rained down on the 3 sealed doors. The 3 sealed doors began to tremble violently, as if they were about to collapse at any moment. But for Lu Ming, this short while was enough. Whoosh! Whoosh! The dragon claws slashed out and continuously struck young Master Lin's body. Young Master Lin cried out in pain as the green energy was torn apart. Bang! Finally, a dragon claw grabbed the neck of the green godly eagle and squeezed hard. The green godly eagle's head directly exploded. The green godly eagle also turned into energy and dissipated. Young Master Lin's figure flew rapidly in the green light that filled the sky. His bloodline was destroyed, and he was severely injured. He spat out mouthfuls of blood and fled for his life. Lu Ming took a step forward and used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps. His body was like a ray of light as he caught up with young Master Lin in an instant. Young Master Lin fought back with all his might. Unfortunately, he was severely injured and it was useless. Lu Ming broke through his layers of defense and grabbed him. Young Master Lin was caught in the palm of the dragon claw and couldn't move. This scene shocked the surrounding onlookers. They couldn't believe it. The genius of the Heavenly God sect, young Master Lin, couldn't defeat Lu Ming. He was really taken down by Lu Ming within 10 moves. His life was in the palm of Lu Ming's hand. Moreover, Lu Ming was only from the Divine Wilderness continent. If it were the strongest geniuses of the Divine Wilderness continent, it would be possible. But it was unbelievable for a young man from the Divine Wilderness continent to do it. Even the sovereigns were a little stunned. On the other hand, the top-notch geniuses of the continent of Divine Ruins looked at Lu Ming with grave expressions. Given Lu Ming's combat abilities, there was no doubt that he would become one of their greatest opponents. Ah, bastard, let go of me! I'm going to kill you! Young Master Lin was so embarrassed that he was going crazy after being defeated in 10 moves and held in the palm of Lu Ming's hand. His eyes were red as he let out a hysterical roar. If this matter were to spread to the Heavenly God sect, he would definitely become a laughingstock in the future. He hated that he couldn't wait to skin Lu Ming and pull out his tendons. Is that so? Don't you know the current situation? Lu Ming sneered and clenched his claw. Crack, crack. Many of young Master Lin's bones were broken. He trembled all over and spat out mouthfuls of blood. He was in so much pain that he almost fainted. At this moment, he was like a weak little chick in the palm of Lu Ming's hand. His life and death were all in Lu Ming's hands. Believe it or not, I'll kill you right now! Lu Ming's eyes were cold. The murderous intent of the 3rd bloodline enveloped young Master Lin like a tidal wave. Young Master Lin felt like he was in the azure hell. His heart began to tremble. How dare you! He's a disciple of the Heavenly God sect. Let go of him! At this moment, a big man from the Heavenly God sect spoke. He was the expert that Lu Ming suspected had been bribed by young Master Lin. As he spoke, a terrifying aura was released and enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt like he was being covered by a mountain and he couldn't move at all. Strong, too strong. Lu Ming felt like he couldn't fight back against this middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was definitely stronger than the black-robed middle-aged man from the Southern Divine Palace. His cultivation was above the third-level martial royal realm. The white-haired old man from the Heavenly God sect frowned but didn't say anything. Ha! It's a fight between the younger generation. You're just an emperor. Why are you interfering? Over at the Divine Dragon Valley, a burly man laughed. An aura rushed out and collided with the middle-aged man's aura, knocking it away. Lu Ming's body relaxed. He took a step back and retreated rapidly. What do you mean? The middle-aged man from the Heavenly God sect looked at the man from the Dragon God Valley seriously. Nothing. I just couldn't stand it. The big man from the Dragon God Valley laughed. Let go of him. You win this round. At this moment, the white-haired old man from the Heavenly God sect spoke. Here you go. Lu Ming waved his dragon claw and flung young Master Lin's body away. Young Master Lin was half dead, and he couldn't even float in the air. The middle-aged man waved his hand and caught young Master Lin. Damn it, damn it! Young Master Lin's eyes were filled with hatred as he stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming transformed into his human form and pulled Xian Yanqing's hand. He said, Shao Qing, let's go! Since they didn't want him to take part in the test, he would just leave. Hold on! At this moment, a deep voice was heard. It was the big man from the Dragon God Valley. I am Long Quan from the Dragon God Valley. How should I address you? Chapter 1257. I am Lu Ming. Lu Ming cupped his fists and replied. Since Long Quan had helped him just now, he had a good impression of Long Quan. Naturally, he would answer Long Quan's question. Lu Ming. Ha! Great! A young hero. It's rare to be able to cultivate to such a level at such a young age in the continent of God. It would be a pity if you don't take part in the assessment. On behalf of the Divine Dragon Valley, I invite you to take part in the assessment. Long Quan said loudly. No, he can't take part. Young Master Lin shouted. Shut up. Who do you think you are? Who are you to interrupt me when I'm speaking? Long Quan's eyes turned cold as an extremely powerful aura burst out. The terrifying aura caused the entire area to tremble. Young Master Lin's face turned pale. I invite Lu Ming to take part in the assessment. Do you have any objections? Long Quan looked at the 9 Heaven Sword sect and Sky Demon sect before looking at the white-haired old man from the Heavenly Divine sect. No objections. Of course I have no objections. The leaders of the 9 Heaven Sword sect and Sky Demon sect nodded. Since he is so powerful, I have no objections. The white-haired old man from the Heavenly Divine sect said. Damn it! Young Master Lin hollered in rage and was filled with unwillingness. Ha! That's great. Lu Ming, what do you say? Long Quan laughed and looked at Lu Ming again. Senior, how can I reject your kind intentions? Lu Ming cupped his fists. All right, let the assessment begin. Long Quan waved his hand. Whoosh! Whoosh! Their figures flashed as they rushed into the light gates one by one. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing separated. Each of them chose a light gate and rushed in. At this moment, some of them had already gone in for a while, but there was still no movement. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the light gate, he felt a ray of light enveloping him. His body felt slightly warm. In the next moment, the feeling disappeared. Lu Ming found himself in a tunnel. The passageway was very wide, and the surrounding walls were covered with shining inscriptions. According to the rules, they had to keep going forward in the void tunnel. Whoever reached the end would be the winner. Lu Ming took a step forward. There was no movement along the way. After walking for a few thousand meters, the appearance of the passageway changed. It was now surrounded by stone walls. As soon as Lu Ming stepped into this passage, his expression changed slightly. The reason for that was because at that moment, the aura emitting from his body began to weaken rapidly. In the end, it returned to its ordinary state. His cultivation had been suppressed, making him seem like a mortal. Not only had his jinyuan, but his state of mind and bloodline been suppressed as well. Lu Ming sensed carefully and found that his prison-suppressing steel bloodline was glowing, and there was even a trace of fluctuation. As for the third bloodline, Lu Ming felt that he could completely control it, and it was not suppressed at all. Only the 9 dragons bloodline was completely suppressed. Lu Ming's expression did not change as he looked around. On the surrounding stone walls, there were messy carvings of different depths. They were in a disorderly mess. In front of him, a light flashed, and a figure condensed. This person looked like a young man in a black robe. He had a cold expression and carried a long spear on his back. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this person was condensed by a formation. Whoosh! The long spear shook, and the spear light stabbed at Lu Ming like lightning. However, the spear light did not contain any jinyuan. It was probably just physical strength, which was comparable to Lu Ming's physical strength. Lu Ming subconsciously wanted to use the power of his third bloodline to defeat this figure. However, Lu Ming immediately stopped releasing the third bloodline. This level could even suppress the 9 dragons bloodline, which meant that he was not supposed to use his bloodline power to pass. If he used his bloodline power, it might be sensed by others. That would be too special. His prison-suppressing steel bloodline, especially his third bloodline, was very special. He did not want others to discover it. Thinking of this, he did not use his bloodline. Instead, he used his physical strength and rushed to the right, because there was a black spear there. Whoosh! Whoosh! The spear light was like lightning, enveloping Lu Ming's body. This was an extremely exquisite spear technique. Although its power was not great, the trajectory of its movement was incomparably exquisite. Lu Ming had no jinyuan in his body, and he could not use his intent realm. He could not use any martial skills to resist at all. He could only rely on his physical strength to dodge. Rip! Lu Ming's back was cut by the spear light, tearing a hole in his clothes. If not for Lu Ming's quick reaction, he would have been injured. Fortunately, Lu Ming had fought countless battles along the way and was very experienced in combat. He took a few steps and dodged the attack. He rushed to the front of the black spear, picked it up, and swept it out. Clang! The 2 spears collided with a clang. Lu Ming felt his arm go numb, and he took 2 steps back. The black-robed youth condensed by the formation had the same physical strength as Lu Ming, but he had the support of a mysterious martial skill. His attack power was above Lu Ming's. Whoosh! Whoosh! The cold tip of the spear transformed into rays of sharp cold light, piercing through the air and piercing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the spear and stared at the opponent's spear light. He then stabbed out a few times. But in the next moment, Lu Ming's face changed. He felt that his spear had stabbed nothing. He was very confident that he could block the opponent's attack with a few stabs. But after stabbing out, he found that he had stabbed nothing but air. The opponent's spear tip shook slightly, and then continued to stab at him. The exquisiteness of the spear art was really unfathomable. What a powerful spear art! It combines strength and speed to the peak. When used, it is unpredictable and hard to predict. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. If his cultivation was not suppressed, such a spear art, although incomparably exquisite, would be useless in front of absolute power. Lu Ming's palm strike could break any exquisite martial skill like tofu. But now, under the situation where his cultivation was suppressed, this martial skill was able to display a great power. Bam! At the critical moment, Lu Ming took a step back and his body retreated far away. But there was still a wound on his chest. He had been stabbed by the spear tip. Whoosh! Whoosh! As Lu Ming retreated, the black-robed youth's spear aura surged towards Lu Ming like an endless tide. Lu Ming retreated and tried his best to dodge. At the same time, he was thinking about how to counter the opponent's attack. At this moment, outside the ancient city of the ruins of deity, outside the void tunnel, countless people stood in the air and watched. Suddenly, the light door shone and a figure appeared. "Someone has failed!" someone whispered. Obviously, someone had failed and was teleported out. Sigh! Those who were teleported out shook their heads and sighed. They could not even pass the first round. It was almost impossible for them to be chosen by the major sects of Yuanlu. The people of the 4 major sects of Yuanlu were expressionless. They did not even look at those who had failed. Chapter 1258. People continued to fail and were sent out. Suddenly, a light spot lit up in the void ahead. It was very eye-catching. Everyone hurriedly looked over and found that a battle stage had appeared in the light spot. A young man stepped onto the battle stage. "That's Bing Kong from Divine Palace North. I didn't expect him to be the first to pass the first stage. He is the strongest genius of the younger generation of Divine Palace North. He really lives up to his reputation." Many people exclaimed as they recognized the young man. Divine Palace North was the strongest force of the 4 Divine Palaces. As the number 1 genius of Divine Palace North, his strength was absolutely terrifying. After Bing Kong came to the battle stage, he sat cross-legged on the battle stage and waited quietly. Now that he was alone, he couldn't continue. He had to wait for the other tunnels to converge with his tunnel, and wait for others to arrive on the battle platform. Only then would the victor be able to continue. At this time, another light spot appeared in another direction. There was also a battle stage in the light spot. A young man with a guqin on his back stepped onto the battle stage. This young man was slender and elegant. He had a faint smile on his face and looked like an elegant gentleman. "The strongest genius of Divine Palace East, Yi Dian of the Phoenix Guqin," someone said and revealed the origin of this person. This person's reputation was no less than Bing Kong's. Yi Dian carried a guqin on his back and waited quietly on the battle stage. Almost at the same time, 2 light spots appeared in the void. Like before, there were battle stages in the light spots. A young man stepped out from each of them. One of them had purple hair and a heroic spirit. He was the number 1 genius of Divine Palace South, Ziwuji. The other one had a battle sword on his back. His whole body was like an unsheathed sword. Sword chi filled the sky. This person was the strongest genius of Divine Palace West, Sword Battle. The strongest geniuses of the 4 Divine Palaces had all appeared. They each appeared on a battle stage. Obviously, their void passages did not merge in the first stage. In the void passage, Lu Ming continued to dodge the attacks of the black-robed youth. At the same time, he was thinking of a way to break through. All around, the carvings on the stone walls. At this time, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The carvings on the stone walls were very strange. Upon closer inspection, it seemed to be a spear technique. It was a very mystical spear technique. As Lu Ming dodged the black-robed youth's attacks, he carefully observed the carvings. Under Lu Ming's gaze, the carvings began to change. Slowly, it looked like a figure was practicing spear arts. This kind of spear technique can break this young man's spear technique. After a while, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He finally knew what this stage was testing. It was testing one's perception. The purpose of suppressing one's cultivation, conception, and bloodline was to allow the examinees to comprehend a spear art based on the carvings on the stone wall so that they could overcome the other party's spear art. Of course, it was impossible for everyone to be proficient in spear arts. Some people were proficient in sword arts, so it was possible for them to encounter sword arts. Once the key point was discovered, it was not difficult for Lu Ming. Lu Ming's perception was already very shocking. Whoosh! Whoosh! The long spear in Lu Ming's hand shook, and a sharp spear light shot out like lightning, colliding with the long spear of the black-robed youth. Clang! 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 A series of violent sounds rang out. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged dozens of blows. I can indeed break the other party's martial arts. The more Lu Ming used his spear, the faster it became. The long spear was like a black dragon, dancing in the air. Whoosh! After another dozen blows, the long spear in Lu Ming's hand turned into a black lightning bolt, breaking through his opponent's heavy spear barrage and piercing his heart. Pun! The black-robed youth exploded. The first stage passed. Lu Ming stepped forward. After crossing the passage, a bright light flashed in front of him. It was actually a battle stage. Lu Ming stepped onto the battle stage. I'm still alone. Looks like I have to wait. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he sat cross-legged on the battle stage. Outside, the onlookers naturally saw Lu Ming. Lu Ming is indeed powerful. He's the sixth person to pass the first stage. It's amazing that a genius of the divine wilderness continent can do this. Some people were discussing. Just now, after the four strongest geniuses of the four cardinal divine palaces stepped onto the battle stage, the number one genius of the Blood Sun continent, which was ranked second in the Divine Ruins continent group. The number one genius of the Blood Sun continent was the fifth to step onto the battle stage. After that, Lu Ming was the sixth to step onto the battle stage. After a while, more and more light spots appeared in the void. The other powerful geniuses of the four cardinal divine palaces, such as Bing Bing, Ji Hongchen, Wang Jin, etc. Long Chen also stepped onto the battle stage at about the same time as these geniuses. Then, Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, and the others appeared one by one. The first stage was actually not too difficult as long as the key point was found. Although many people were eliminated, there were more who succeeded. There's a passage in the void! Someone shouted. Sure enough, a light spot flashed, and a void hole appeared on the side of the battle stage. A youth stepped out from it. There were two people on the battle stage. These two people had to fight. The winner would continue and the loser would be eliminated. The two of them soon engaged in a fierce battle. Then, more and more void passages appeared and merged together. Of course, it was impossible for the loser to pass the stage. Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged. Suddenly, the battle stage shook and a passage appeared on the side of the battle stage. A young figure appeared from the passage. This person walked out of the passage and stepped onto the battle stage. When he saw Lu Ming, his expression changed drastically. Lu Ming's combat strength when he fought with Master Lin was too shocking. He had seen it with his own eyes. His combat strength was worlds apart from Lu Ming's. I'm so unlucky to encounter such a freak in the first stage. The youth's mouth was full of bitterness and helplessness. Lu Ming stood up and walked towards the youth. Lu Ming, I know I'm not your match, but I'll do my best to fight with you, the youth said. This was not an ordinary battle. That was the recruitment of disciples by the Yuanlu sect. He could not admit defeat. No matter what, he would fight. Only by showing his strength to his heart's content, he might be chosen by the experts of the Yuanlu sect. After all, the Yuanlu sect did not recruit disciples. It was based on combat strength. No one knew the standards of the Yuanlu sect. What if he was chosen? Do your best. I'll give you a chance to do so, Lu Ming said. Thank you. The youth cupped his fists. Then, he performed the bloodline fusion and unleashed his strongest combat strength to attack Lu Ming. Although the youth's cultivation was not bad, it was far from Lu Ming's. Lu Ming did not defeat him immediately. Instead, he allowed the youth to unleash his strongest combat strength before defeating him. Chapter 1259. After defeating his opponent, the space distorted and his opponent was teleported out. In front of the battle platform, another void passageway appeared. Lu Ming took a step into it. At the same time, void tunnels appeared in the other battle stages. Bing Kong, Eden Ziwuji, Jian Zhan, and the others easily defeated their opponents and entered the next stage. On the Divine Wilderness Continent's side, Long Qin easily defeated his opponent and entered the next stage. Xian Yanqing was now in the 7th level of the spirit god realm and had obtained the inheritance of a supreme existence. His battle strength was also very terrifying and entered the next stage. In addition, Xian Yanjuan had obtained some kind of fortuitous encounter during this period of time, and his cultivation had increased a lot. He actually entered the 6th level of the spirit god realm and defeated his opponent to enter the next stage. Heartless Monk and Yang Patian also passed by luck. However, Underworld Child and Moonless Bodhisattva encountered strong opponents and were defeated and eliminated. Outside, countless people were watching. The experts of the 4 major forces of the Yuanlu continent were also watching carefully to see if there were any good seedlings that were suitable for their sections. Soon, the first stage was almost over. Originally, there were more than 500 people. About 100 people didn't pass the first stage. The remaining 400 people fought in pairs and half of them were eliminated. Only about 200 people could continue and enter the second stage. Lu Ming stepped into the void tunnel again and continued forward. After about 1,000 meters, his surroundings suddenly changed and he appeared in an unfamiliar environment. Around him, powerful auras rose like smoke signals. Countless experts were fighting with each other, and their killing intent was shocking. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming punched out and shattered the sword light. Kill! A burly man holding a giant sword charged towards Lu Ming with bloodshot eyes. What's going on? Lu Ming frowned. Why did he suddenly come here? It's an illusion! Lu Ming sensed carefully, and suddenly raised his eyebrows as he saw something fishy. This should be an illusion, and Lu Ming was in the middle of it. Everything is an illusion, Lu Ming muttered. His heart was unmoved and he stood firm. Kill, kill! A few armored generals, armed with giant axes and long spears, charged toward Lu Ming. Their strong murderous intent made one shudder. But Lu Ming didn't seem to see it. He let the giant axe and spear hit him, his face calm. A surprising scene occurred. When the giant axe and spear struck Lu Ming, it was as if they had struck the void or struck an illusion. Lu Ming was completely unharmed. Lu Ming's expression was calm as he stepped forward. This was a battlefield, and the killing was incomparably intense. Fresh blood drifted in the air, and blood qi permeated the air. The killing intent was as cold as a blade. It felt incomparably real, as if it was really happening. Those with weak wills, even if they knew that this was an illusion, would inevitably be affected and develop fear. However, Lu Ming's resistance to illusions was already very strong. His heart was unmoved. He walked on the battlefield, allowing the swords and sabers to pierce his body. He was as immovable as a mountain. His footsteps were not very fast. He walked step by step on the battlefield. Young fella, die! In the sky, a loud shout was heard. A palm print that was like the hand of the heavens descended toward Lu Ming. This was definitely a palm strike from a ruler. At this moment, Lu Ming had an illusion that if the palm landed, he would immediately turn into ashes. This kind of feeling made Lu Ming have an instinctive impulse. He wanted to fight back, retaliate, and save himself. This was a human instinct. Anyone would have such an instinct when faced with such a situation. No, if I make a move, I'll only fall deeper and deeper. Lu Ming suddenly gritted his teeth and endured it, allowing the palm print to land. Boom! There was a loud bang and the palm print dissipated. However, Lu Ming was completely fine. Phew! Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The feeling of being about to be slapped to death in the next moment, and having to endure not fighting back was not a good feeling. Lu Ming continued to move forward. Following that, all kinds of attacks landed on him. There were even attacks that surpassed the third-layer ruler, but Lu Ming was indifferent. He crossed the battlefield alone. In the end, it took Lu Ming half an hour to cross the entire battlefield. When Lu Ming crossed the battlefield disappeared, and Lu Ming reappeared in the void passage. In front of him, there was a flash of light. Lu Ming walked over and found another battle platform. There was no one on the battle platform. Lu Ming stepped onto the platform and sat down cross-legged. In the outside world, everyone was watching seriously. I wonder who will be the first to pass the second stage. I heard from the experts of the Celestial Divine Sect that the second stage is an extremely powerful illusion that tests one's willpower. It's very difficult. Until now, more than 30 people have failed and been eliminated. In my opinion, the first to pass is still the strongest heaven's prides from the 4 celestial palaces. They have the highest chance. That's right. Bing Kong, Edian Ziwuji, and Jianzhan are the most likely. However, it's not impossible for Xue Mingyang and Lu Ming. Although Xue Mingyang and Lu Ming are very strong, they're still slightly weaker than the other 4. The surrounding spectators had already learned about the second stage from the experts of the Celestial Divine Sect. At this moment, they were all guessing who would be the first to pass. At this moment, in front of the first row of light spots, another light spot appeared. Similar to the first row of light spots, there was a battle platform inside. A void passage appeared. Who will be the first to pass? Everyone's eyes were fixed on the void passage. A young man stepped out and appeared on the battle platform. It's actually him, Lu Ming. I didn't expect it to be Lu Ming. He's the first to pass the second stage. Amazing, amazing! Don't tell me that Lu Ming will be able to defeat everyone and obtain first place? Not necessarily. Lu Ming was able to reach this step from a small continent like the Divine Wilderness continent. His willpower are naturally amazing. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to reach this step. However, it doesn't necessarily represent his combat strength. It's hard to say who will be first. Lu Ming's appearance caused an uproar at the scene. Humph! The burly man from the Celestial Divine Sect snorted. He was rather unhappy. As for young Master Lin, his eyes were about to spit fire. Haha, not bad, not bad. This kid is not bad. The burly man from the Divine Dragon Valley laughed loudly. He looked at Lu Ming on the battle platform with admiration. The other experts from the 9 Cloud Sword Sect and the Sky Demonic Sect also nodded. On the path of cultivation, one's will and willpower were also very important. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the battle platform and continued to wait. In the outside world, after Lu Ming appeared, light spots began to appear one by one. This time, following closely behind Lu Ming was the number 1 genius of the Eastern Divine Palace, Eden, the young man with the guqin on his back. Next was Bing Kong of the Northern Divine Palace. Then, Ziwuji of the Southern Divine Palace, Xue Mingyang of the Blood Sun continent appeared almost at the same time. Chapter 1260. After Long Qin, it was Ji Hongqin and Wang Jin. What was surprising was that Xian Yanqing appeared almost at the same time as these prodigies. Gradually, more and more battle stages appeared, and the number of people eliminated reached about 50. Out of the 200 people, about 50 people were eliminated. There were still about 150 people left. At this point, more than 70 battle stages had appeared in the void. When more than 70 battle stages had appeared, the void passageways where the successful challengers were at began to converge with the previous ones. Lu Ming opened his eyes and saw a passage on one side of the battle stage. A young man stepped out of the passage. Just like before, the young man's face turned pale when he saw Lu Ming. How unlucky! The young man muttered. Previously, when Lu Ming fought with young Master Lin, the combat ability that he displayed was too powerful. Those who had seen him fight were very clear that they were not Lu Ming's match. If they met Lu Ming, it was equivalent to ending the assessment in advance. I will fight with all my strength! The young man shouted and charged at Lu Ming with all his strength. However, the result was no surprise. He was easily defeated by Lu Ming. Battles broke out on the other battle stages as well. This battle was equivalent to the battle of 75 people. It was much more intense than the previous battle because those who could make it to the end were stronger. Eden, Bing Kong, and the other top geniuses easily defeated their opponents and won. That's the immemorial dragonesque elephant bloodline! The experts of Dragon God Valley who were watching the battles on the other battle stages suddenly widened their eyes in surprise. In one of the battle stages, Long Qin used the bloodline fusion technique to suppress his opponent and win. It's really the immemorial dragon-esque elephant bloodline. This is shocking. The 9 dragons' bloodline actually appeared in the continent of God. Now, even the immemorial dragon-esque elephant bloodline has appeared. The experts of 9 Heaven Sword sect exclaimed. That girl is not bad either. What a pure demonic chi and demonic intent! An expert from the Sky Universe Devil sect stared at one of the battle stages. Over there, Xian Yanqing was fighting with a genius. Xian Yanqing had easily won. Ever since Xian Yanqing had obtained the inheritance of that Devil Dao expert, her cultivation base and combat strength had rapidly increased. She had advanced at a tremendous pace. Also, that's not bad either. The strong warriors of the 4 great forces of the Yuan continents were watching the battles on the battle platforms and nodding their heads. It was obvious that they were satisfied with some people. In the end, all the battles came to an end. The losers were all eliminated, and the victors entered the next stage. On the Divine Wilderness continent's side, Yan Patian and unscrupulous monks' cultivation levels were insufficient, so they lost to their opponents. On the other hand, Lu Ming, Long Qin, Xian Yanqing, and Xian Yanjuan had all advanced. After Lu Ming's victory, he continued to step into the next void passage. This stage was more difficult than the previous 2 stages. Not only did it test one's will, but it also tested one's combat strength. However, Lu Ming passed it easily. This time, Lu Ming was the first to pass the 3rd stage. He appeared on another platform. However, this stage wasn't too difficult for Lu Ming. However, it was extremely difficult for the other geniuses. In this stage, a total of 25 people were eliminated. Only the remaining 50 people were able to pass the stage. What a coincidence! When the void passageways converged and a figure stepped into the arena where Lu Ming was, Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Wang Jin. The person who stepped onto Lu Ming's battle stage was actually one of the 3 strongest geniuses of South God Palace, Wang Jin. When Wang Jin saw Lu Ming, his face darkened and a cold light flashed in his eyes. It's Wang Jin. Wang Jin actually encountered Lu Ming so early. This battle is going to be interesting. Interesting. A battle between 2 strong geniuses. Many people were excited. Wang Jin was one of the 3 strongest geniuses of South God Palace. Although his reputation wasn't as good as Siwu Ji's, he couldn't be underestimated. In the entire Divine Ruins continent, Wang Jin was one of the strongest geniuses. His combat strength was definitely not weak. Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, they had never fought before. It was still unknown who was stronger and who was weaker. Lu Ming, your combat strength is not bad. Unfortunately, you have offended too many people. How about this? Why don't we make a deal? If you lose to me, I will help you settle your troubles. Wang Jin's gaze shifted as he spoke. Help me settle my troubles? I would like to know how you are going to settle them. For example, young Master Lin must hate me to the core now. How do you want to settle this? Lu Ming said with a faint smile. My Wang family is still influential in South God Palace. If you lose to me on purpose, I will put in a good word for you in front of young Master Lin. Then, you can just apologize and this matter will be over. Wang Jin said confidently. You want me to lose to you so that you will be chosen by the major sexton Yuanlu? Since your Wang family is so capable, why don't you put in a good word for yourself? Then, you will be able to join the major sexton Yuanlu. Why do you need to play such a dirty trick? Lu Ming said with a mocking expression. Lu Ming, I am talking to you nicely. Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. If we really fight, I am not afraid of you. Wang Jin said with a gloomy face. Then why are you still talking nonsense? Make your move. You don't have to worry about my matters. Lu Ming smiled faintly. You don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Bang! Wang Jin said coldly and took a step forward. When he took a step forward, a milky white light shot up to the sky from his body. This light was extremely holy, as if it could purify all evil. Sacred light, divine sword. Wang Jun was bathed in the pure white sacred light. He grasped the air with both hands and two pure white combat swords appeared in his hands. The two combat swords slashed out in a crisscross manner. A cross-shaped sword aura was shot toward Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming took a step forward and dodged the cross-shaped sword aura in a flash. He then charged towards Wang Jun. Sacred light storm. Wang Jun's body continued to spin. The boundless sacred light was driven and formed a storm of swords that rained down on Lu Ming. Child's play. Lu Ming smiled disdainfully. He unleashed the power of 9 dragons as he activated the suppressing hell skill and threw out a punch. The suppressing hell skill could suppress everything. No matter how many sword auras there were, a punch would break them. Boom! The boundless storm of sword auras was shattered in an instant. Wang Jun's expression changed. He placed his 2 swords in front of him to block Lu Ming's punch. With a thud, Wang Jun was sent flying by Lu Ming's punch. Humph, I don't believe it. Supreme Sacred Light Technique. Wang Jun shouted. A milky white armor appeared on top of his head. The sacred light was vast and boundless like the ocean. This was Wang Jun's bloodline, a set of armor. Moreover, when Wang Jun used the bloodline fusion, it was strange. It was different from others. When he used the bloodline fusion, the armor seemed to be on his body, causing his aura to soar crazily. Chapter 1261. There was no doubt that Wang Jun was using an intent martial technique. It was an intent martial technique of the holy light intent. This light seemed peaceful, but it had the power to destroy everything. Lu Ming's true yuan continued to circulate in his body. With the support of the 9 dragon energies, it was filled with explosive power. Boom! The hell-suppressing heaven skill was activated. Lu Ming's palm was like a knife as he slashed at the beam of light. Break! As Lu Ming spoke, the light was split in half by Lu Ming's palm. How can he be so strong? Wang Jun roared in disbelief. In terms of cultivation, his cultivation had reached the mid-stage of the 8th level of the spirit god realm, which was stronger than Lu Ming's. However, even after performing the bloodline fusion and using the intent realm martial technique, Lu Ming still managed to break his attack with one palm. Most importantly, Lu Ming hadn't used the bloodline fusion yet, so he hadn't used his full strength yet. Lu Ming's previous battle with young Master Lin wasn't limited to just this. Wang Jun couldn't accept that Lin Yun could break his killing move without using his full strength. Holy Light 9 slashes! Wang Jun's armor shone brightly as the 2 swords in his hands merged into one. He slashed out 9 times in a row, and the power of the 9 swords stacked together to unleash a terrifying power. Roar! Lu Ming unleashed his 9 dragons' bloodline and turned into 9 dragons. His dragon claws clashed with the milky white sword light. Boom! 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 9 explosions sounded out as the milky white sword light shattered. Whoosh! Following that, the 9 dragons launched a series of attacks. Some dragon claws used the hell-suppressing heaven art, while others used the thunder god strike. The hell-suppressing steel appeared in the air and pressed down on Wang Jun. Lightning formed a phoenix that spread its wings and pounced at Wang Jun. Boom! 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 The powerful attacks landed on Wang Jun's armor, causing it to tremble violently and let out an unpleasant creaking sound. In the end, it couldn't bear the pressure and exploded. Puff! Wang Jun howled in grief as he spat out large mouthfuls of blood and was sent flying backwards. The 9 dragons twisted their bodies and instantly appeared in front of Wang Jun. Their dragon claws slammed down on Wang Jun's body. Wang Jun was as weak as a chicken. He heavily smashed into the fighting ring and spat out a mouthful of blood. I admit defeat! I admit defeat! Wang Jun admitted defeat in humiliation. If he didn't admit defeat, Lu Ming could continue to attack. After Wang Jun admitted defeat, the space around him started to distort, and his body was sent out. Damn it, this bastard! After coming out, Wang Jun roared in his heart. He wasn't confident that he would be eliminated so early. He didn't know if he would be chosen by one of the great sects of Yuanlu. If he were to fall, he would definitely make Lu Ming pay the price. He swore to himself. Look, are they sisters? So similar. They really do look alike, and they're both so beautiful that they're devastatingly beautiful. At this moment, someone shouted. Wang Jin followed the voice and saw two female characters on one of the battle stages. One of them was wearing a black dress while the other was wearing a white dress. It was a stark contrast, but they looked exactly the same. They were Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan. When the two identical beauties met, they naturally attracted the attention of many people. Even the experts from the four major forces of Yuan Lu were watching with interest. Isn't this girl Lu Ming's woman? Humph, let Yanjuan teach her a lesson and avenge me. Wang Jin thought to himself. In the fighting ring, Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan stood opposite each other. Their eyes were like lightning as they stared at each other. Not long after, the two of them fought again. This time, they were determined to determine the winner. Xian Yanqing, you're a freak. Today, I will officially eliminate you on behalf of the Imperial family and the Xie family, Xian Yanjuan said coldly. Her eyes were still filled with arrogance and disdain. Xian Yanjuan, don't act all high and mighty. Is your bloodline very noble? In my heart, it's worthless. Today, I will completely trample on you and crush your so-called dignity. I will let you know that the Xie family is not worth mentioning. Xian Yanqing did not back down and continued to fight back. There's no point in talking nonsense. Let's see who's stronger, Xian Yanjuan said. Her body emitted a milky white light. It was very similar to Wang Jin's. It was a type of sacred light. However, Xian Yanjuan's sacred light was even purer and more condensed than Wang Jin's. 9 Heavens Sacred Region! Xian Yanjuan made the first move. She pressed her jade-like hand and sacred light spread out. It formed a domain-like force field and enveloped Xian Yanqing. This is the embryonic form of a domain. No, it doesn't look like it. Xian Yanjuan's move made the experts of Heavenly Divine Sect and 9 Heaven Sword Sect frown. They were all shocked. Especially the white-haired old man of Heavenly Divine Sect. He looked at Xian Yanjuan with great admiration. This move again. Break for me! Xian Yanqing looked calm. Her finger was like a sword as she drew a line in front of her. Numerous black lotuses formed in front of Xian Yanqing's finger. The lotuses then dispersed. The petals of the lotuses formed a lotus sword in the air and slashed at the 9 Heavens Sacred Region. With a poochie sound, the 9 Heavens Sacred Region was sliced open by Xian Yanqing. You! Xian Yanjuan's face changed. She did not expect Xian Yanqing to be able to break her 9 Heavens Sacred Region so easily. Your cultivation is too weak. A cold voice came from Xian Yanqing. At the same time, a stronger aura than Xian Yanjuan burst out from Xian Yanqing's body. The aura of a 7th-level spirit god. 7th-level spirit god! How did you reach the 7th-level spirit god so quickly? Xian Yanjuan shouted in disbelief. She had been very close to Wang Jin recently. With the help of the Wang family, her cultivation had improved rapidly. She had also obtained other opportunities and broken through the profound martial realm, reaching the 6th-level spirit god. She had thought that no one in the divine wilderness continent could be her match. She was not even afraid of Longqin. However, she had seen Lu Ming's strength. Even the genius of Heavenly Divine Sect, young Master Lin, was not a match for Lu Ming. She was shocked and somewhat in disbelief. It had dealt a heavy blow to her confidence. But now, she realized that even Xian Yanqing, who she had always looked down on, had surpassed her. His cultivation had reached the 7th-level spirit god. She found it hard to accept. So what if you have broken through to the 7th-level spirit god? I can still defeat you! Xian Yanjuan shouted. A beautiful woman's figure appeared above his head. She was as holy as the fairy of the 9 heavens. She used bloodline fusion and attacked Xian Yanqing. Heavenly Demon Force Field! Xian Yanqing whispered. A force field spread towards Xian Yanjuan. Xian Yanqing's heavenly demon force field was many times stronger than before. Xian Yanjuan's body entered the heavenly demon force field. It was as if he had fallen into a quagmire. Devil's will! Xian Yanqing pinched his fingers. Demonic chi soared into the sky. Vast demonic might spread out like a supreme demonic god. Chapter 1262. Xian Yanqing was like a demoness. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and her demonic chi was vast and mighty. She took light steps in the air and walked towards Xian Yanjuan step by step. I won't lose to you! Xian Yanjuan's beautiful face was distorted with anger and excitement. The bloodline that she had transformed into bloomed with holy light. She used all her strength to send out a palm strike towards Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing also raised her jade-like hand and lightly struck out with her palm. Bam! The two palms collided, and the holy light was instantly suppressed. The demonic chi was vast and mighty, destroying the holy light as easily as crushing rotten wood. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, Xian Yanqing waved her hand, and a black lotus condensed and fell on Xian Yanjuan's body. Xian Yanjuan's bloodline seemed to be under endless pressure. Deep marks appeared on her body, and then she collapsed. Xian Yanjuan's figure appeared in the rain of light. Her beautiful face was pale, and the blood in her mouth drifted in the air like bright red plum blossoms. Xian Yanqing continued to step forward and sent out a palm strike, bombarding Xian Yanjuan's body. Xian Yanqing groaned and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Her body seemed to have been electrocuted, and she flew far away and fell on the battle stage. How could this be? Outside, Wang Jin was dumbfounded. He found it hard to believe. After this period of time, he had a good understanding of Xian Yanjuan. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also astonishingly talented. With the help of the Wang family and her own fortuitous encounters, her cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. In just a few months she had reached the 6th-level spirit god realm. Even he felt inferior to such talent. Originally, he thought that Xian Yanqing would win for sure, but he didn't expect that Xian Yanjuan would be defeated so easily. This woman is naturally suited for the demonic Tao. Our Sky Demonic Sect wants her. The experts from the Sky Universe Demon Sect looked at Xian Yanqing with gleaming eyes. She just has a higher cultivation. The other girl is not bad either. My Heavenly God Sect wants her. The white-haired elder from the Heavenly Divinity Sect looked at Xian Yanjuan. Around them, the others were extremely envious. The examination was not over yet, but the two of them had already been selected by the two major forces. They would definitely be able to join the two major forces, regardless of the results of the later examinations. Impossible! On the battle platform, Xian Yanjuan cried out in disbelief. Her hair was disheveled and she was in an extremely sorry state. She didn't look like the peerless princess at all. As proud as she was, she found it hard to accept this result. In the divine wilderness continent, she was high and mighty, second only to Longqin. Ever since she was young, she had been shrouded in limitless light. She was the moon surrounded by stars and was the focus of the world. On the other hand, Xian Yanqing was the opposite of her. He was ostracized by the imperial family and despised by the Xia family. He didn't even have the chance to appear in front of others. Compared to Xian Yanjuan, they were like heaven and earth. In the past, she had never thought that Xian Yanqing would be able to defeat her one day. Therefore, when this day came, she was at a loss, as if she was in a dream. What pure bloodline of the Xia family! In our eyes, you guys are just self-righteous people who are deceiving yourselves. In fact, you are weak. Today, I defeated you. In the future, Xie Qitian will also be defeated by me. I will let the world know that your so-called pure bloodline is just a joke. Therefore, I won't kill you today. Get lost! As Xian Yanqing spoke, he waved his hand. A palm wind rose and sent Xian Yanjuan flying far away. The space distorted and Xian Yanjuan's figure was sent out. Yanjuan, are you okay? As soon as Xian Yanjuan appeared, Wang Jin flew over and asked about his well-being. I'm fine, Xian Yanjuan said, but his eyes were extremely cold. Then he glanced at Wang Jin and said, You lost too? Who did you meet? Lu Ming. Wang Jin hesitated at first, then gritted his teeth and said, "Lu Ming again!" Xian Yanjuan clenched his fists tightly. At this time, the battles on the various fighting platforms had almost come to an end. Those who could reach this stage were all very strong. However, compared to the small group of people who were at the top, the gap was obvious. Therefore, the battles didn't take long. At this stage, there were only 25 people left. These 25 people were all very strong. For example, the top geniuses of the 4 directions divine palaces, and the second and third geniuses of the 2 continents. What was worth mentioning was that there were also many dark horses. Among the 25 people, only 18 of them had stepped onto Big Dipper Peak before. The remaining 7 were newcomers, such as Lu Ming, Long Chen, and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming, Long Chen, and Xian Yanqing seemed to be from the same continent. At this time, someone said in surprise. "It can't be? From the same continent? It can't be. Other than the Divine Ruins continent, there are only 3 people from the Blood Yam continent who can reach this stage. If these 3 are from the same continent, wouldn't they be on par with the Blood Yam continent? By the way, which continent are they from?" "I know, they're from the Divine Wilderness continent." "What? Divine Wilderness continent? It can't be, right? That small continent?" There was a burst of discussion. When the crowd knew that Lu Ming and the other 2 were from the Divine Wilderness continent, they were all stunned and in disbelief. The Divine Wilderness continent could give birth to so many geniuses? Moreover, Xian Yanjuan should also be from the Divine Wilderness continent, and had been chosen by the Heavenly God sect. If that was the case, the Divine Wilderness continent was too shocking. Outside, the crowd was discussing in surprise. Lu Ming and the others had already stepped into the void passage behind them. Not long after Lu Ming stepped into the void passage, he was faced with a storm of attacks. Figures condensed and charged towards Lu Ming. At the same time, inscriptions filled the void passage, forming an even more terrifying attack. This stage did not test anything else but pure combat strength and combat experience. If one wanted to pass this stage, they would have to fight their way through. Lu Ming unleashed his dragon power and crushed his way through. However, the further he went, the stronger the attacks on Lu Ming, and the greater the resistance. Even with Lu Ming's combat strength, he had to put in some effort. Outside the void passage, there were flashes of light from time to time. It was the experts who were eliminated and sent out. "It can't be. This stage is so difficult that even such geniuses are eliminated." Some people secretly clicked their tongues. Those who could reach this step and enter the top 25 were all amazing geniuses. However, there were still people who were eliminated. It was obvious that this stage was too difficult. "That's Shuaiku, the second-ranked genius of the Blood Yan continent. An ice dragon, one of the 4 strongest geniuses of the North Divine Palace, was also eliminated. This is too shocking." The space flickered again and again as geniuses were sent out. Ice Dragon's face was gloomy. He felt extremely embarrassed that he could not even pass the stage. "Did you notice that the 3 geniuses from the Divine Wilderness continent were not eliminated? It's true. Could it be that they can pass? This is too unbelievable." Some people thought of Lu Ming and the other 2. Chapter 1263. In the end, even geniuses like Ji Hongchen were sent out of the 4 sacred palaces. "Look, someone passed!" Suddenly, someone shouted. In front of them, a dot of light lit up, and a figure appeared within the dot of light. "It's Eden, the Eden of the East Sacred Palace. It's really Eden. It's not Lu Ming, nor is it Bing Kong. It seems like Eden's combat strength is terrifying." The fact that Eden was the first to appear surprised everyone. After all, Lu Ming's performance was very strong. Many people thought that Lu Ming would be the first to pass. This time, it wasn't a battle stage that appeared in the light spot, but a platform that could only accommodate 1 person. One! At this moment, another light spot appeared not far from where Eden was. This time, a figure appeared. It was the strongest genius of the North Sacred Palace, Bing Kong. Similarly, there was only a platform beneath Bing Kong's feet. He stood on the platform and looked at Eden with sharp eyes. It seemed like they could see each other. Eden also looked at Bing Kong. There seemed to be sparks between the two of them. The second to succeed is Bing Kong, not Lu Ming. It seems like I overestimated him. It's very normal. The first few stages tested one's willpower. Lu Ming's willpower is strong, but it doesn't mean that his combat ability can overpower everyone. Eden, Bing Kong, and the rest are extremely terrifying and have unparalleled combat ability. I'm afraid they can defeat young Master Lin. Sure, lower your voice. Some people discussed, but they quickly shut up and looked in the direction of the Heavenly Divinity sect. Unfortunately, although their voices were soft, young Master Lin still heard them. This made his face even darker. In the void tunnel, Lu Ming was still trying to pass the stages. However, he didn't use his strongest combat strength, nor did he use the bloodline fusion. He only used the power of 9 dragons, the intent realm, and the suppressing hell skill to pass the stages. I feel like my water intent is about to break through. In the midst of the battle, Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. His concept of thunder, concept of fire, and concept of wind had already broken through to the peak of the 4th level when he was in the ruins of God. His concepts of earth and water were still at the peak of the 4th level. Now, after a series of great battles, the concept of water finally showed signs of breaking through. As such, Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry. He focused on operating his concepts to resist the outside world. He couldn't miss such an opportunity. If he missed it, he didn't know when he would be able to break through again. Lu Ming's speed of clearing the levels gradually slowed down. As time passed, the number of people who succeeded gradually increased. Following Eden and Bing Kong were Zi Wuji, Jian Zhan, and Xue Ming Yang. Behind Xue Ming Yang and the other two, a young man with skin as hard as iron stepped forward. Everyone recognized that this person was the number 1 genius of the 3rd continent, Tai Hong of the Divine Iron Continent. Soon, a stunning woman appeared. This person was also a dark horse. She had risen from a small continent and had attracted many people's attention. Now, she was the 7th person to succeed. Lu Ming hasn't appeared yet. It seems like his battle strength isn't ridiculously strong. That's right. Many people were discussing. This made young Master Lin's face even gloomier. His heart was conflicted. First, he thought that Lu Ming couldn't pass and was eliminated. However, this meant that Lu Ming's battle strength was low. But if Lu Ming, who had low battle strength, could defeat him, didn't that mean that he was even worse? Now, hearing others say that Lu Ming's battle strength wasn't good, he felt very uncomfortable. It's all that Lu Ming's fault! Young Master Lin secretly gritted his teeth. In the void, there were 7 spots of light. Each spot of light was a platform, and the 7 people stood on each platform. It was as if there was a transparent bubble in the void, wrapping around each platform in an arc. They could see each other. 1. At this moment, another spot of light appeared, and a figure appeared on the platform. It was Long Qin. The 8th person to appear was Long Qin. That's Long Qin from the Divine Wilderness Continent. He's only at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. It's unbelievable that he could pass the challenge. Yeah. Even Ice Dragon and Ji Hongchen, who were at the 8th level of the spiritual god realm, were eliminated. He can pass the challenge with his 7th level of the spiritual god realm cultivation. Long Qin's appearance caused a wave of discussion. It was extremely shocking. The ancient dragon-esque elephant bloodline, one of the top 10 battle beasts. It's unfathomable and unpredictable. The eyes of the experts from the Divine Dragon Valley were burning. The other 3 forces were also tempted. It was extremely rare to awaken such a bloodline, even in the Yuan continent. Immediately after Long Qin, another dot of light appeared. Then, a beautiful woman walked out from the dot of light. Xian Yanqing. Many people's hearts skipped a beat, and they were surprised. Obviously, they didn't expect the person to be Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing was the same as Long Qin. He was also at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. Even the experts of the Yuan continent's four major forces were surprised that he could pass the challenge. How is this possible? Seeing Xian Yanqing's figure appear, Xian Yanjuan's body trembled violently. His face was filled with disbelief, and he couldn't accept it. Xian Yanqing could pass the challenge, which meant that he didn't use much of his strength in the battle with her. This was a huge blow to her. Due to jealousy, the muscles on her face were slightly contorted, making her look ferocious. Xian Yanqing and Long Chun looked at each other and nodded slightly. They then looked around, and when they didn't see Lu Ming's figure, they were surprised. In their opinion, Lu Ming should have passed the challenge long ago. He will definitely succeed. It's just that he was delayed by something, Xian Yanqing muttered. She had full confidence in Lu Ming. Everyone waited quietly. After a while, 15 people had been eliminated. There were originally 25 people, but now 15 people had been eliminated. 9 people had passed the challenge, and 1 person was still trying. Obviously, that person was Lu Ming. What's going on? Lu Ming hasn't come out yet. He hasn't been eliminated, and he hasn't passed the challenge. It's really strange. What's so strange about it? I reckon that his combat strength isn't good enough. He's just struggling and can't bear to give up. Humph! He's just trash. There were also people who were disdainful and mocking. Everyone looked over and saw that it was Ice Dragon, the genius of the North Divine Palace. On the celestial god Sek's side, young Master Lin's face darkened again. He was so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. Lu Ming defeated him. It was an indisputable fact. Now that others were belittling Lu Ming, it was the same as belittling him. They said that Lu Ming was trash. Didn't that mean that he was worse than trash? He was attacked even when he was lying down. How could he not be depressed? However, he couldn't do anything about it. Did he have to stand up for Lu Ming and teach those who belittled Lu Ming a lesson? Chapter 1264. Time passed slowly, but Lu Ming still hadn't appeared. 10 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours had passed, but Lu Ming still hadn't appeared. Some people were getting anxious. Nestle, what's going on? Lu Ming still hasn't appeared. What's going on? Did he die in there? No way. If Lu Ming died in there, the celestial sex experts would definitely know. Now that they haven't said anything, it means that Lu Ming isn't dead yet. Then why is it taking so long? After so long, even some people who thought highly of Lu Ming were shaken. Previously, Lu Ming had defeated young Master Lin, which made some people think highly of him. They thought that even if Lu Ming couldn't get first place, he would be able to get into the top 3. But now, many people were shaken. Some people even guessed that Lu Ming might have used some kind of secret technique in his battle with young Master Lin, which allowed his battle strength to skyrocket in a short period of time. However, there was a huge after effect. At this moment, his battle strength was probably exhausted and he was struggling to hold on. As time passed, more and more people accepted this view. Lu Ming didn't know any of this. He was still in the void tunnel, resisting the attacks from all directions. Now, he was constantly weakening the power of the suppressing Hell Heaven skill. He was mainly using his intent to fight and train his intent. As time passed, his understanding of the water intent grew stronger. The feeling of a breakthrough also grew stronger. After a few hours, suddenly, the blue light in the 5-colored intent around Lu Ming suddenly shone brightly. The blue light represented the water intent. The water intent had broken through and reached the perfect 4th stage. Now only the earth intent had not reached the perfect 4th stage. If the earth intent also broke through to the perfect 4th stage, then Lu Ming only needed to find time to constantly devour and refine origin stones. Then, Lu Ming's cultivation would continue to break through until he reached the perfect spirit god realm. Of course, it wasn't that easy to reach the prime stage. He needed to transform his intent into a domain. The breakthrough of the water intent had slightly increased Lu Ming's battle strength. Although it wasn't much, it was better than nothing. It's done! Lu Ming revealed a trace of a smile. He pressed down with his palm, and with the support of the 5-colored wills, the power of the suppressing hell kung fu skyrocketed. Boom! 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 Lu Ming's palm was like a hell-suppressing heavenly steel, suppressing the heavens. All around, the offensive power formed by the human figures and the formation was crushed one by one. Lu Ming's speed became faster and faster. There was no way to stop him. In less than 3 minutes, Lu Ming had already covered a distance of 10 miles. In front of him, there was a platform. Lu Ming stepped onto it. He passed. It's Lu Ming! He passed. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, there was an uproar all around. It took me more than 2 hours to clear it, hee hee. Some people sneered and snorted disdainfully. Puff! Poof! When Lu Ming's figure appeared, the light spots that appeared in the first and second stages were like bubbles, dispersing one by one. In the end, only 10 people managed to pass the trial. As soon as Lu Ming stepped onto the platform, he looked around and saw Xian Yanqing, Long Qin, Yi Dian, Bing Kong, and the others. He exchanged glances with Xian Yanqing and smiled tacitly. Then, he nodded at Long Qin. As for Yi Dian, Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and the others, their gazes fell on Lu Ming. Some were serious, some were disdainful, and so on. In the void, the 10 people formed a circle and floated in the air, looking at each other. At this moment, in the center of the 10 people, a light dot floated out. Slowly, a battle platform formed and floated in the center of the 10 people. It seemed that the battle of the 10 people would begin on this battle platform. Suddenly, 2 of the platforms flew toward the battle platform. Yi Dian and Tai Hong. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The 2 people flying toward the battle platform were Yi Dian and Tai Hong. After the 2 of them flew to the battle platform, the platform under their feet disappeared automatically. The 2 of them landed on the battle platform and stood facing each other. It seemed that the battle was random. The 2 people who flew to the battle platform would be the 2 who would fight. Yi Dian, let's fight. Tai Hong's eyes were filled with battle intent. The muscles all over his body and the color of his skin were like divine iron, emitting a cold light. Come, Yi Dian said. It was very simple. He grasped the void with one hand and his true essence condensed into a 9-string zither. You don't use a real spiritual weapon? Tai Hong's eyes turned cold. When the time comes, I will use it, Yi Dian said. His voice was calm, but it revealed his confidence in himself. How arrogant. Don't regret it. Tai Hong snorted. The muscles all over his body wriggled and his body swelled up. The metallic luster became even more intense. A pair of gloves appeared in his hands. He stomped hard on the battle platform and his body turned into a black light, charging toward Yi Dian. With a punch, the entire battle platform shook violently. Clang, clang. The 9-string zither in Yi Dian's hand floated in front of him. He played the zither with one hand. Sonorous sounds filled the air. It was as if thousands of troops were on a punitive expedition. The sound of the zither was filled with cold, killing intent. Tai Hong's expression suddenly changed. He shouted and punched the air with both fists. Clang! 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 Tai Hong punched the air, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Sparks flew from his fists. Wang! Around the battle platform, endless energy shot out. It was incomparably sharp. Luckily, there was a layer of light around the fighting stage that blocked these attacks. Whoosh! Tai Hong's body shook in midair, and he took a few steps back. The 9-string zither in Yi Dian's hand also vibrated. He slid back a meter. So strong! Many people's hearts trembled. The short exchange allowed them to see the strength of the 2. Tai Hong's cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th-level spirit god realm. He was stronger than Bing Bing, Ji Hongqin, and the others. He wasn't weaker than young Master Lin. And Yi Dian was even more unfathomable. Many people couldn't see through Yi Dian's strength in the previous exchange. Again, godly iron sky breaker! Tai Hong roared. His entire body turned into metal. He was like an invincible god of war as he charged toward Yi Dian and used a martial technique of intent. Clang! 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 The sound of Yi Dian's zither also started to become hurried. It was as if millions of experts were fighting. The killing intent was shocking. This kind of attack could kill without leaving a trace. It was absolutely terrifying. Clang! 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 Bursts of explosions sounded in the air. They were even denser than when iron was being forged. In an instant, hundreds of sounds rang out. Tai Hong's voice was like a bell. The more he fought, the fiercer he became. Sometimes, he completely ignored his defense and attacked crazily. His body was a supreme spiritual weapon. It had unparalleled defense and unparalleled attack power. Lose from me! Tai Hong's eyes were ferocious. Chapter 1265. Tai Hong was like a war machine, as if he was made out of a piece of divine metal. His offense and defense had reached the pinnacle. He kept moving forward, breaking through Eden's Guqin music and charging towards Eden. Phoenix cry! At this moment, a clear voice came from Eden's mouth. At the same time, his Guqin music suddenly changed. It was as if a phoenix was soaring into the sky. A phoenix cry resounded through the sky. One could see a phoenix flying out of Eden's 9-string Guqin. A flaming phoenix bathed in phoenix flames flapped its wings and pounced towards Tai Hong. Bang! Bang! Tai Hong swung his fists continuously, wanting to defeat the phoenix. However, in the end, not only did he fail to defeat the phoenix, he was also pushed back by the phoenix. He was pushed back 100 meters, and his fists were burned red by the flames. Chirp! The phoenix continued to cry as flames spread out and flew towards Tai Hong. Break! Tai Hong shouted as his true yuan boiled. An Iron Man appeared on top of his head. In the ancient times, it was said that a human emperor had created an Iron Man. Tai Hong's bloodline was this Iron Man. There were 9 major meridians on his body that were like 9 small suns. They shone brightly. Tai Hong's Iron Man form was even more powerful. He kept attacking the flaming phoenix with his fists. Boom! 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 After dozens of explosions, the flaming phoenix and Tai Hong were evenly matched. It was hard to tell who would win. However, at this moment, the cry of another phoenix was heard. A cyan phoenix flew out. This azure phoenix was bathed in the power of wind. It cooperated with the flaming phoenix. With a flap of its wings, the wind helped the flames. The flames filled the sky and spread towards Tai Hong. Tai Hong was shocked. He tried his best to block, but he was still no match for the 2 phoenixes. He kept retreating. How powerful! Eden's strength is unfathomable. That's right. Tai Hong's cultivation has reached the peak of the 8th level of the spirit god realm. He's only a little weaker than young Master Lin, but he's no match for Eden. Eden is too powerful. He hasn't even used his bloodline yet. He hasn't even used the Guqin on his back. The onlookers stared at the battle stage and the battle between the 2. Their eyes were filled with shock. They were only of the younger generation. With such strength, they could definitely fight against the Prime. He could be called a supreme youth. After exchanging a few more moves, Tai Hong was no match for Chen Shi in the end, and he was completely suppressed. In the end, his bloodline was defeated, and he had no choice but to admit defeat. After Tai Hong admitted defeat, he was sent out. Suddenly, a stone staircase appeared in front of the battle platform. At the bottom of the stone staircase was a platform. Eden's figure was sent to the platform. He tried, but he couldn't climb the stairs at all. So, he stood on the platform below the stairs and watched the upcoming battle. As expected, 2 more platforms flew towards the middle of the fighting stage. This time, it was the beautiful lady and the other person was Bing Kong. That beautiful woman's battle prowess was also extremely terrifying. She was not weaker than Tai Hong. Unfortunately, Bing Kong was even stronger. With a wave of his hand, he could freeze everything. His intent realm martial skill had been cultivated to an unfathomable realm. It didn't take long for him to defeat the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman was teleported out, and Bing Kong, just like Eden, appeared on the platform below the stairs. Then 2 more platforms flew to the fighting ring. Long Chin! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. One of them was Long Chin, and the other was Jian Zhan. This battle stunned everyone. It wasn't because of Jian Zhan, but because of Long Chin. Jian Zhan's cultivation was unfathomable, and his battle prowess was extremely powerful. His sword radiance was shocking, and the power of his sword principle was strong. Everyone was prepared for it. However, Long Chen's battle prowess was beyond everyone's expectations. Long Chen's cultivation was only at the middle 7th level spirit god realm, but his battle prowess was so strong that even the experts from the Yuanlu sect were dumbfounded. Long Chen had transformed into the immemorial dragonesque elephant bloodline. With his bloodline martial skill as the main, and his intent realm martial skill as the support, he unleashed an extremely terrifying battle prowess. It was as if the real immemorial dragonesque elephant was born and swept across the world. The immemorial dragonesque elephant was one of the top 10 battle beasts. It was famous for its battle prowess. Not many existences in the world could compare with its battle prowess. It was absolutely terrifying. Obviously, Long Chen had gained a lot in the ruins of God, and his battle prowess had increased. Although his cultivation was far behind Jian Zhan, he was defeated after more than 50 moves. This made Jian Zhan's face extremely gloomy. He was only dealing with a middle 7th level spirit god realm martial artist. With his battle prowess, it took him more than 50 moves to defeat Long Chen. This made him feel embarrassed. The Divine Wilderness Continent is really amazing! Many people exclaimed again. 3 people from the Divine Wilderness Continent had made it into the top 10. Moreover, Long Chen's battle prowess was too terrifying. My Divine Dragon Valley wants this kid. He's compatible with my Divine Dragon Valley, an expert from the Divine Dragon Valley said with a burning gaze. What a joke! Although the immemorial dragonesque elephant has the word dragon in it, it has nothing to do with a real dragon. Don't flatter yourself. I think he's suitable to join my 9 Heaven Sword sect. An expert from the 9 Heaven Sword sect sneered. In my opinion, he's the most suitable one to join my Divine Sky sect. The white-haired elder from the Divine Sky sect said. Only the Heavenly Universe Demon sect did not say anything. After all, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect cultivated the demonic Tao. If they chose the wrong person, it would be useless no matter how talented he was. After 6 consecutive battles, there were only 4 people left. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Ziwu Ji, and Xue Ming Yang. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 of the platforms flew towards the battle stage. Lu Ming was a little stunned because these 2 people were Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang. Only he and Xian Yanqing were left. In the end, it was his turn to fight with Xian Yanqing? The 2 looked at each other and smiled. Xian Yanqing showed his white teeth and waved his little fist at Lu Ming, making Lu Ming smile bitterly. The battle between Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang broke out. This was the most intense battle so far. Ziwu Ji was the strongest genius of the Southern Divine Palace, while Xue Ming Yang was the strongest genius of the Blood Yang continent, which was ranked 2nd on the continent. Their battle strength was almost the same, and the battle was extremely fierce. The 2 exchanged more than 500 moves. In the end, Ziwu Ji won and won with difficulty. This battle made everyone clearly realize how terrifying Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang were. Early stage 9th level spirit god realm. Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang's cultivation were both in the early 9th level of the spirit god realm. Reaching such a cultivation at such a young age was shocking. Needless to say, Sword Battle, Eden, and Bing Kong were equally famous as Ziwu Ji. Their cultivation had definitely reached the 9th level of the spirit god realm. This made the young men from the 4 major forces of the Yuan continent look a little solemn. Obviously, it was beyond their expectations that there would be such young geniuses in the Divine Ruins continent. After the battle between Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang ended, Xue Ming Yang was sent out, and Ziwu-ji appeared on the platform below the stairs like the previous victors. Chapter 1266. The surrounding onlookers were also quite surprised. It wasn't difficult for them to see that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were definitely lovers. But now, this pair of lovers was arranged to fight together. Everyone was very curious. What would the outcome of the battle be? On the battle stage, Lu Ming rubbed his nose helplessly. Lu Ming, why don't you admit defeat? Xian Yanqing smiled playfully. Her big eyes narrowed, revealing a sly look. I admit defeat? Sure, but… Lu Ming said as he looked at Bing Kong and the others below the stairs. Winning or losing against Xian Yanqing wasn't important at all. If Xian Yanqing asked him to admit defeat, he would admit defeat. What he was worried about was that if Xian Yanqing defeated him, he would have to face Bing Kong and the others. With Xian Yanqing's current cultivation, he was definitely not a match for Bing Kong and the others. Hee, fool, I'm just joking with you. I can't deal with those guys, so I'll leave them to you. You have to get first place, otherwise, I won't let you off. Xian Yanqing smiled, then looked around and said, I admit defeat. After Xian Yanqing said that, the space distorted and Xian Yanqing's figure was sent out. As for Lu Ming, he was teleported to the platform at the bottom of the stairs. Everyone was speechless. Lu Ming won too easily. There were a total of 5 people on the platform below the stairs. Lu Ming, Eden, Bing Kong, Jianzhan, and Ziwuji. The 5 strongest supreme prides of the continent of God were born. Everyone's eyes fell on the 5 of them. Everyone's attention was on them. At this moment, the white-haired elder of the celestial god sect stepped out and said, Next, the final battle will begin. It's very simple. You all will climb this staircase. The first one to climb the stairs will be the first, the second one will be the second, and so on. You can use any means on the stairs. As the white-haired old man's words fell, Bing Kong, Dian, and the others' eyes lit up. They looked at each other warily. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, the 5 of them stepped out at the same time and headed up the stairs. As he stepped down, the stairs rumbled, as if a mountain had landed on the stairs. What a strong pressure! As soon as Lu Ming stepped onto the stairs, he felt a boundless pressure pressing down on his body. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This staircase was indeed not that simple. Standing on the first step, the 5 of them were on guard against each other, preventing each other from attacking. Lu Ming, what qualifications do you have to be with us? Get the hell out of here! At this moment, Bing Kong looked at Lu Ming coldly and scolded him. Ice Dragon had been defeated by Lu Ming and had always held a grudge. He had secretly asked Bing Kong to avenge him if he had the chance. At this moment, Bing Kong immediately made his move. Moreover, the 5 people on the stage were Dian, Jianzhan, and Ziwuji. They were the strongest sky prides of the 4 directions deity palaces and were equally famous. As for Lu Ming, what was he? How could he stand with them and compete with them? He wanted to blast Lu Ming down first. Shwa! Bing Kong's palm blasted towards Lu Ming. The cold chi seemed to want to freeze Lu Ming's blood. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he struck out with his palm, colliding with Bing Kong's palm. Bang! Bing Kong's body shook slightly as he took a step back. Lu Ming's body did not move, but a cold current flowed along Lu Ming's arm and seeped into it. Lu Ming used his 5-colored intent realm to resist. A layer of white frost appeared on his arm and crackled. In the end, Lu Ming circulated his true qi and shook it, dispersing the cold qi. What a terrifying cold qi! Lu Ming felt that the cold qi was several times stronger than Ice Dragon's. In a battle of the same level, Ice Dragon was not Bing Kong's opponent, not to mention that Bing Kong's cultivation was higher. You have some strength. Let's see how many moves you can take. Bing Kong's eyes darkened as the aura on his body became even colder. Extreme Ice Seal! Bing Kong continuously struck out with his palms. The extremely cold palm energy slammed towards Lu Ming. Wherever the palm energy passed, the entire space was frozen. Everything in this space became motionless. This was a martial skill of the intent realm, and it was definitely not at the 3rd level. It should have reached the 4th level. On the side, Eden, Jianzhan, and Ziwu all had grave expressions. Within Lu Ming's body, dragon power roared as all 9 dragon powers erupted. At the same time, his 3rd bloodline emerged. A blood-red energy poured into Lu Ming's body as a terrifying murderous intent rushed towards Bing Kong. Hu hu hu! Lu Ming circulated the suppressing hell heavenly art and punched out with both fists. Pun! 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 She flew out as cold chi rampaged. The terrifying cold chi turned the entire staircase white. Eden, Jianzhan, and Ziwu all retreated as true chi spread out from their bodies to resist the cold chi around them. Lu Ming and Bing Kong exchanged 9 moves in a row. In the end, Lu Ming broke through Bing Kong's palm energy and charged towards him. You want me to go down first? Then I'll let you go first, Lu Ming shouted as his aura soared. The suppressing hell heavenly art in his left hand and lightning flashed in his right as he used the thunder god strike. The lightning phoenix danced in the air, and at the same time, the suppressing hell celestial skill pressed down on Bing Kong. Bing Kong's face was gloomy as he pushed his cultivation to the limit. At the mid-stage 9th layer spirit god realm, he was slightly stronger than Ziwu and Jianzhan. His rich true chi was like a vast ocean, and when combined with his intent realm martial skill, his power was even more terrifying. Absolute Zero, ice-sealed world! Bing Kong's black hair turned snow-white. With a terrifying cold current, he launched a storm-like attack on Lu Ming. Boom! 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 The two fought fiercely, exchanging dozens of moves. However, Lu Ming still had the upper hand. Now Lu Ming had 9 dragon powers in his body. When they erupted, their power was astonishing. Just like Long Qin, even if his cultivation was lacking, he could make up for it. Lu Ming broke through the endless cold chi and charged towards Bing Kong. In the end, Bing Kong was forced back by Lu Ming's fist, and blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Following which, Lu Ming took a few steps forward. His fist force broke through the air and continuously blasted toward the ice. Bing Kong was no match for Lu Ming, and was suppressed by him. His body shook violently as he retreated back down the stairs and landed on the platform below. Lu Ming, his combat power is so strong. Even Bing Kong was suppressed by him. He is indeed strong. He is only at the 8th layer spirit god realm, a level lower than Bing Kong. But he defeated Bing Kong as the weak. He is really strong. It seems like he was delayed by something before. Otherwise, with his strength, he wouldn't have been so slow. That's right. We underestimated him. Previously, when Lu Ming was the 10th person to succeed, it took him more than 2 hours. Many people thought that Lu Ming's strength wasn't strong and that he might have relied on some kind of secret technique to fight with young Master Lin. But now, it seemed like that wasn't the case at all. Lu Ming's strength was shocking and much stronger than they had imagined. Even Bing Kong, who had reached the mid-stage 9th layer spirit god realm, was suppressed by Lu Ming. Such strength was really shocking. Whoosh! Chapter 1267. Bing Kong was extremely aggrieved by Lu Ming's attacks and planned to use bloodline fusion to fight a decisive battle with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was too lazy to pay attention to him right now. He turned around and strode up the stairs. Eden, Jianzhan, and Ziwu were already struggling to climb up the stairs. Ziwu, stay here! An iron sword appeared in Jianzhan's hand and slashed towards Ziwu with a sword chi. Ziwu entire body bloomed with a rich purple light that condensed into a spear that pierced through the air to meet Jianzhan's attack. Eden carried her zither on her back and strode up the stairs. Lu Ming also quickly chased after her. Lu Ming, stay here! Bing Kong turned into an ice river and roared as he chased after Lu Ming. The ice river danced in the air and from it, ice arrows shot towards Lu Ming. Courting death! Lu Ming's eyes went cold. He had already let Bing Kong go, but this person still wanted a yard after taking an inch. he was simply courting death. Above Lu Ming's head, 9 dragons appeared. Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons, their claws stepping on the air as they pounced towards the ice river, their terrifying power constantly colliding with the ice river. Although the ice river was constantly sending out terrifying attacks, they were all broken apart by the 9 dragons. The dragon claws constantly bombarded the ice river, causing it to boil and tremble. Damn it! From the ice river, Bing Kong's angry roar rang out. Even if he used his bloodline, he was still not Lu Ming's opponent. Jianzhan, Ziwuji, Eden, let's join forces and defeat this person together. Otherwise, with him here, none of us will be able to take first place, Bing Kong shouted. This caused Jianzhan and Ziwuji's eyes to flash. Indeed, Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded their expectations. He was simply too strong. Even Bing Kong was suppressed by Lu Ming. They knew that in a one-on-one battle, they were not Lu Ming's opponent. If they allowed Lu Ming to climb with all his strength, they would not be able to take first place. If they dealt with Lu Ming first, only the 4 of them would be left to compete, and it would be unknown who would take first place. Clang! Suddenly, sword battle's sword light turned and slashed at Lu Ming. Ziwuji also rushed towards Lu Ming with his spear. They really joined forces to fight Lu Ming. So what if we join forces? Then let's have a good fight, Lu Ming roared. His blood was boiling. It had been a long time since he had used his full strength in a battle between peers. Roar! The 9 dragons let out a roar as their devouring power erupted, enveloping Bing Kong, Jianzhan, and Ziwuji. At the same time, the 9 dragons took to the air as they circulated the suppressing hell heavenly art and bombarded their opponents. At the top of the stairs, explosions were unceasingly heard. The 4 of them were engaged in an intense battle. In this sword battle, Ziwuji used his bloodline fusion technique one after another, erupting with his strongest combat power to fight Lu Ming. For a moment, the 4 of them were actually evenly matched. Lu Ming also used all his means, including the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. This kind of secret technique was extremely powerful, causing Jianzhan and the others to be fearful. As soon as they saw the sealed gate appear, they would try their best to avoid it. Eden stood at the top of the stairs, not continuing to climb. Instead, he stood there and watched the battle below. Geniuses had their pride. At this time, he could have taken the opportunity to climb all the way to the top of the stairs, but it would be meaningless if he did so. Even if he won, it would be meaningless because the experts of the 4 major forces of the Yuan continent would be watching. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and the 3 great sky prides had exchanged more than 50 moves. This made the surrounding onlookers dumbfounded and shocked. Lu Ming's combat power was too shocking. It was as if there was no limit. The stronger his opponent, the stronger he would be. Under the circumstances where his cultivation was lower, he was able to fight the 3 strongest sky prides alone. This was too shocking. Not many people had done it since ancient times. Haha, the 9 dragons' bloodline is indeed incredible. This person belongs to my Dragon God Valley. The experts of the Dragon God Valley laughed. Haha, what a joke. You don't have to join the Dragon God Valley just because you have awakened the 9 dragons' bloodline. You can still rise quickly if you join other forces, the 9 Heaven Sword Sects experts said unhappily. That's right. The Heavenly Universe Demon Sect also spoke. Even the experts of the Heavenly Universe Demon Sect were tempted by such a person. Only the white-haired elder of the Heavenly Divinity Sect did not speak. This was because before the Dragon God Valley, the Heavenly Universe Demon Sect and the 9 Heaven Sword Sect appeared, he had personally said that he would cancel Lu Ming's assessment. Now that Lu Ming's performance was so amazing, it was like a slap to his face. He could not bring himself to fight for Lu Ming. You guys are the ones who are ridiculous. Most of the people in the Dragon God Valley have awakened the true dragon bloodline. The weakest one is the Jiao dragon bloodline. They are all related to dragons. Those who break through to the Emperor realm cultivate the dragon body. Lu Ming is the most suitable candidate to join the Dragon God Valley. What are you guys doing? the Dragon God Valley's expert said unhappily. The others did not say anything. It was meaningless to fight now. They had to wait until the end of the assessment to see Lu Ming's decision. In the Heavenly Divinity sect, young Master Lin's face was gloomy. The one who was the most unhappy was him. On the stairs, the battle continued. The 9 dragons roared, the 9 dragon claws bombarded, and the dragon tails swept. Every inch of his body was a weapon that could exert the strongest power. The more the battle, the more shocked Bing Kong, Jianzhan, and Ziwuji were because they found that they were gradually falling into a disadvantage. They had never thought that there would be such a powerful genius in the world. Even when the 3 of them worked together, they were still at a disadvantage. Before the assessment, they did not take Lu Ming seriously. Even if Lu Ming defeated young Master Lin, they did not care too much because with their battle strength, it would not be too difficult to defeat young Master Lin. In their eyes, the only opponents were the strongest geniuses of the 4 divine palaces. Bing Kong, Eden, Jianzhan, and Ziwuji, the only opponents in their eyes were each other. They never thought that Lu Ming, a young man who suddenly appeared, would be so powerful. Come! Come! At this moment, the sound of a zither rang out. At the same time, a phoenix's cry rang out. A phoenix bathed in flames flew towards Lu Ming. Eden has made his move! Bing Kong, Jianzhan, and Ziwuji's eyes lit up with joy. Eden finally could not help but join the battle. At this moment, Eden finally took out the guqin he carried on his back and played the divine tune of the phoenix. At this moment, the phoenix that flew out was much more powerful than the one that had appeared during his battle with Tai Hong. The 9 dragons clawed at the flaming phoenix, sending it flying. However, the scales on the 9 dragons' claws were also burned red and almost melted. The temperature of the flames was shockingly high. Then, another phoenix cry rang out. An azure phoenix flew out and cooperated with the flaming phoenix. The wind increased the intensity of the flames as they attacked Lu Ming. Good! Lu Ming shouted, his fighting spirit soaring to the heavens as he exerted all his strength to fight the 4. Eden's participation made the battle even more intense. Lu Ming used all his means to kill, the power of the suppressing hell-heaven art growing stronger and stronger. Zzz. Suddenly, lightning filled the sky and bolts of lightning as thick as an arm shot out in all directions. Chapter 1268. After an intense battle, Lu Ming's Thunder God strike finally broke through to the 4th level in one fell swoop. Intent realm martial techniques were like other martial techniques. They were also divided into 6 levels. The 4th level was already very powerful. Several dragon claws were filled with thunder and lightning. When the dragon claws stepped out, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. Iron Sword 9 strikes! An iron sword streaked across the sky, breaking through space and slashing toward Lu Ming. Purple Chi from the east! The sky was filled with purple lights. A purple spear that was extremely sharp pierced toward Lu Ming's head. Ice Aeon! A river of ice formed by cold air rolled towards Lu Ming. Dance of the Phoenixes! A guqin appeared above Eden's head. This guqin was engraved with phoenix patterns. This was Eden's bloodline, the Phoenix Guqin. The Phoenix Guqin and the guqin in Eden's hands merged into one. Sonorous guqin sounds burst out. This time, 7 phoenixes flew out at the same time towards Lu Ming. The 4 strongest geniuses attacked at the same time. They exploded with their strongest attacks and enveloped Lu Ming. God, they're too strong! Lu Ming is definitely no match for them. He's going to lose! Someone exclaimed. However, more people stared at the stairs with their eyes wide open. They didn't even blink. They even forgot to breathe. They didn't dare to blink. They were afraid that the situation would change if they blinked. They stared at the stairs. Can Lu Ming block it? Many people had such a thought in their hearts. Lu Ming! Xian Yanqing clenched her jade-like hands tightly. She was very nervous. Lose, hurry up and lose. It would be best if you were killed by this attack and turned into ashes. Some people who had a grudge against Lu Ming secretly prayed, such as Ice Dragon, Wang Jin, Xian Yanjuan, Young Master Lin, and others. Look, Lu Ming can't block it. His bloodline is collapsing. Really, he's done for. Lu Ming is too high profile. He's fighting alone against the top 4. His defeat is already set in stone. Exclamations of surprise could be heard. At this moment, under the joint attack of the 4 strongest heaven's favorites, the 9 dragons' bloodline began to crumble inch by inch. It was as if it couldn't hold on any longer. It turned into light and dissipated. Everyone saw Lu Ming's body amidst the rays of light caused by the collapse of the 9 dragons' bloodline. However, at the next moment, Lu Ming's body was engulfed by endless rays of light and the attacks of the 4 powerful figures. Lu Ming was dead meat. Many people thought to themselves, how could Lu Ming block such an attack when his bloodline collapsed? Withdraw! At the critical moment, Yi Dian pressed the zither with both hands and ordered the 7 phoenixes to retreat. However, Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and Ziwu Ji's attacks did not diminish in the slightest and instead became even more violent. Lu Ming was too strong, which made them jealous. They wanted to take this opportunity to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Right at this moment, a huge stone tablet rushed out from the light and emitted a brilliant light. It quickly grew to the size of a mountain. Suppress! Lu Ming's voice came out from the stone tablet. Below it, a single tablet word shone brightly, and with a shake, it shattered all the attacks. Prison suppressing steel bloodline. All around, the spectators were stunned and only reacted after a long while. Another bloodline, an 8th grade divine rank bloodline. Lu Ming actually has 2 types of bloodlines. One is at level 8 and the other is at level 9. How is that possible? And what's with his 8th grade divine rank bloodline? How can it be so powerful? It can shatter the attacks of Bing Kong and the others in one fell swoop. The scene was in an uproar. Originally, they thought that Lu Ming would be killed under this attack, but at the critical moment, Lu Ming actually erupted with another bloodline and blocked the attacks of the experts, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Prison suppressing steel, it's the prison suppressing steel bloodline! The white-haired old man from the Heavenly God sect couldn't help but exclaim. It really is the prison-suppressing steel bloodline. One is the 9 dragons, and the other is the legendary prison-suppressing steel. Unbelievable! The legendary 9 heavenly suppressing steel! The experts from the Dragon God Valley, 9 Heaven Sword sect, and Sky Universe Demon sect exclaimed. It seemed that seeing the prison-suppressing steel bloodline was even more shocking than seeing the 9 dragons' bloodline. Suppress! Lu Ming's voice resounded, and the prison-suppressing steel trembled, pressing down on Bing Kong. Boom! The huge prison-suppressing steel ruthlessly pressed down on the ice river, causing a scream to ring out from the ice river. Again! The prison-suppressing steel was shrouded in a layer of blood-red light. That was the power of the 3rd bloodline. Lu Ming borrowed more power from the 3rd bloodline, causing the prison-suppressing steel bloodline to become even stronger. Boom! The prison-suppressing steel pressed down on the ice river again. This time, the ice river trembled violently and suddenly collapsed, turning into energy and dissipating. Bing Kong's figure appeared, spurting blood from his mouth as he flew far away, crashing onto the platform below the stairs and spitting out a few more mouthfuls of blood. This change was too sudden. From the moment the prison-suppressing steel bloodline appeared, it launched a fierce attack on Bing Kong, and severely injured him in 2 moves. It only took a breath's time. Attack! At this moment, in the sword battle, Ziwu Ji attacked at the same time. His iron sword and spear rushed towards Lu Ming. The prison-suppressing steel shook and directly collided with the iron sword and spear. The lower part of the prison-suppressing steel bloodline was the main body of the prison-suppressing steel, which was indestructible. When the iron sword and spear hit the prison-suppressing steel's body, they only made 2 clanging sounds before being bounced off. 1. Then, the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline pressed down on the 2. With 2 loud bangs, the 2 figures were forced back again and again. Since the start of the battle, Ziwuji and the others' bloodline power had been greatly depleted. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had just used the suppressing prison monument bloodline and his bloodline power was still abundant. He continued to attack the two of them. During this process, Eden did not make a move. In the sword battle, Ziwuji and Ziwuji were unable to resist more than a few moves. Their bloodlines were also defeated by Lu Ming, and their bodies were sent flying while coughing up blood. The three great masters were all injured by Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming controlled the prison's suppressing steel and continued to press down on Bing Kong. A look of horror flashed in Bing Kong's eyes as he shouted, "I admit defeat!" Then, space flashed and Bing Kong was teleported out. Humph! Lu Ming coldly snorted and aimed the prison's suppressing steel at Ziwuji and Jian Zhan. The two were helpless. At this time, their bloodline power was exhausted and they were no match for Lu Ming, so they could only admit defeat. Now, only Lu Ming and Eden were left on the stairs. The prison's suppressing steel shrank and turned into Lu Ming's appearance. "Do you still want to fight?" Lu Ming looked at Eden. Just now, at the critical moment, Eden had withdrawn his attack, which made Lu Ming's impression of him slightly better. He did not attack him. "Is there still a need? I'm not your match." Eden smiled bitterly and shook his head. He put away his zither and stepped out of the stairs, appearing in the void outside. At this point, only Lu Ming was left on the stairs. At this moment, Lu Ming was the focus of everyone's attention. There was no suspense in this assessment. First place was Lu Ming. This result was beyond everyone's expectations. Lu Ming fought the four strongest heaven's prides alone. If someone said this before, no one would believe it, and they would definitely be called a madman. Chapter 1269. There was only one person on the stairs. Lu Ming turned around and walked up the stairs step by step. In the void all around, countless human figures of Tao were looking at Lu Ming. The scene was silent. Only the sound of Lu Ming's footsteps could be heard. A few minutes later, Lu Ming reached the highest point and stepped into the air, appearing beside Xian Yanqing. "Well, you did well. It's worth it for me to admit defeat this time." Xian Yanqing smiled brightly. "Of course. How can your man be bad?" Lu Ming smiled. "Don't flatter yourself." Xian Yanqing blushed. "Ha ha, good. You're really something. You're so young and yet you have such combat strength and cultivation. Even in the Dragon God Valley, you're considered a good genius. Lu Ming, are you willing to join the Dragon God Valley? Everyone in the Dragon God Valley has awakened the true dragon bloodline. Those who break through to the Emperor realm cultivate the supreme dragon body." The expert from the Dragon God Valley laughed, and came to Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming with fiery eyes full of anticipation. "Lu Ming, although the Dragon God Valley cultivates the supreme dragon body, it's not only the Dragon God Valley that has the cultivation method of the supreme dragon body. The Nine Heaven Sword sect also has it. Lu Ming, if you join the Nine Heaven Sword sect, you can name any conditions." The expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect said. "What do you mean? Are you going against the Dragon God Valley?" The expert from the Dragon God Valley looked at the expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect coldly. The expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect sneered, not afraid at all. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon sect wanted to speak up, but Lu Ming had nothing to do with the diabolism. He reckoned that the chances of Lu Ming being accepted were slim. After pondering for a while, he turned to look at Xian Yanqing and said, "Miss, your diabolism talent is extremely pure. Our Sky Universe Demon sect specializes in diabolism. How about I invite you to join our Sky Universe Demon sect?" "Sky Universe Demon sect?" Xian Yanqing was tempted, but after looking at Lu Ming, she shook her head and said, "Thank you, Senior. I'll follow Lu Ming. Whichever sect Lu Ming joins, I'll follow." Many people were stunned. Wherever Lu Ming went, Yanqing would follow? Shao Qing. Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing and his heart warmed. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon sect wanted to say something. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, join the Divine Dragon Valley. Only then will you be able to unleash your full potential, the expert from Dragon God Valley said. That's right. At this moment, the powerful cultivator from the Sky Universe Demon Sect said, Lu Ming, you will join the Divine Dragon Valley while this lady will join the Sky Universe Demon Sect. The Divine Dragon Valley and the Sky Universe Demon Sect are very close to each other. You will be able to meet each other often, and it won't affect your cultivation. To be honest, this lady's talent will be wasted if she doesn't join the Demon Dao Sect. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect tried to persuade her. But Xian Yanqing still shook her head. Seniors, if we join your sect, can we delay our journey to Yuanlu for a while? Lu Ming asked. Of course. The experts from the Dragon God Valley, Sky Universe Demon Sect and Nine Heaven Sword Sect nodded. If that's the case, Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing and said, Xiao Qing, why don't you join the Sky Universe Demon Sect and I join the Dragon God Valley? We can meet frequently anyway. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect was right. If Xian Yanqing followed him and joined the Dragon God Valley or other forces, it would only be a waste of her talent. After all, a martial artist's cultivation was the most important. Moreover, she didn't have to go immediately. She could go after a while. Hearing Lu Ming's words, the eyes of the experts from the Dragon God Valley and Sky Universe Demon Sect lit up. Xian Yanqing pondered for a while and nodded. All right then. Senior, I'm willing to join the Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to the expert from the Dragon God Valley. Great, great, haha! The expert from the Dragon God Valley was overjoyed. Xian Yanqing also expressed that she wanted to join the Sky Universe Demon Sect. The experts from the Sky Universe Demon Sect were also overjoyed. Although Xian Yanqing's cultivation was still low, her potential was limitless. Both the Dragon God Valley and the Sky Universe Demon Sect were overjoyed as they each gained a peerless talent. The experts from the Nine Heaven Sword Sect shook their heads and sighed. The white-haired elder from the Sky God Sect looked gloomy but didn't say anything. Everyone was envious. Others could not join a sect even if they wanted to. However, Lu Ming received invitations from several powerful sections. This treatment was completely incomparable. Then, the Dragon God Valley, the Nine Heaven Sword Sect, and the Sky God Sect started fighting for Longqin. After all, Longqin had awakened the immemorial dragonesque elephant bloodline and had limitless potential. In the end, Longqin also chose the Dragon God Valley. This made the experts from the Dragon God Valley laugh their heads off. Bing Kong, how about joining the Sky God Sect? Jianzhan, how about joining the Nine Heaven Sword Sect? Then, the four major forces started sending out invitations to Yidian, Bing Kong, Jianzhan, and Ziwuji. In the end, Bing Kong joined the Sky God Sect, Jianzhan joined the Nine Heaven Sword Sect, Ziwuji joined the Sky God Sect, and Yidian joined the Sky God Sect. The Sky God Sect had a variety of cultivation techniques, and was suitable for most Sky Prides. The white-haired elder from the Sky God Sect finally smiled. Xian Yanjuan, how about joining the Sky God Sect? At this moment, the Sky God Sect sent out an invitation to Xian Yanjuan. Xian Yanjuan was overjoyed and immediately nodded without any hesitation. Then, Sky Prides like Ji Hongqin and Wang Jin were also invited to join the four major sections. The remaining Sky Prides looked at the four major sects, hoping to be invited. You're Yang Patian, right? How about joining the Nine Heaven Sword Sect? The experts from the Nine Heaven Sword Sect looked at Yang Patian. This made Yang Potion's body tremble violently and his eyes were filled with ecstasy. He did not expect that he would also be invited and quickly nodded in agreement. Although this kid's cultivation is low, he has comprehended the concept of space. No wonder the Nine Heaven Sword Sect picked him. Someone said. Time and space were king. The concept of space was rare and powerful and only a few people had comprehended it. Yang Potion's cultivation was still low, and he did not have any cultivation techniques related to the concept of space. There were many mysteries that had yet to be discovered. If he joined the major sects in the Yuanlu sect and fully developed the concept of space, it would be terrifying. Gosh, this means that 5 people from the Divine Wilderness continent have been chosen to join the major sects in the Yuanlu sect. Someone exclaimed. Everyone thought to themselves that it was indeed so. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Long Qin, Xian Yanjuan, and Yang Patian. A total of 5 people had joined the major sects in the Yuanlu sect. This number was even more than the number 2 Blood Sun continent. This made the other young Skyprides extremely envious and jealous. The other Skyprides looked at the experts from the 4 major sects with hope, hoping to be chosen. Unfortunately, the experts from the 4 major sects did not make any moves. They looked at the Skyprides and frowned as if they were thinking. Chapter 1270. After that, the experts from the 4 major sects of Yuanlu did not continue to speak. Most of the geniuses who were not selected started to panic. Senior, I'm willing to join the Heavenly Divinity sect. Senior, I'm willing to join the 9 Heaven Sword sect. Please grant me my wish. One by one, the youths knelt down, wanting to join the 4 major sections. You guys can't do it. You don't have enough talent and potential. The expert from the 9 Heaven Sword sect waved his sleeves and rejected them directly. Then, the Divine Dragon Valley, Heavenly Divinity sect and the other sects rejected them one by one. Senior, please grant me my wish. Some of the geniuses shouted. All right, we've already made an exception by coming to the mainland of godly ruins to recruit disciples. You guys don't have to say anything more. The white-haired elder from the Heavenly Divinity sect said coldly. A faint pressure emanated from his body, causing many of their faces to change drastically. Many of the young geniuses sighed and looked disappointed. They knew that they were not fated to join the major sects of Yuanlu. All right, this trip is considered a success. Ha! The expert from the Divine Dragon Valley laughed loudly. The experts from the other 3 sects despised him. Without a doubt, the Divine Dragon Valley had gained the most from this trip. They had recruited Lu Ming and Long Qin, 2 geniuses with limitless potential. Of course, it was a success. Lu Ming, Long Qin, will be returning to Yuanlu soon. Do you guys want to follow us to Divine Dragon Valley now or after some time? I can tell you that the cultivation environment in Yuanlu is not something that the mainland of godly ruins can compare to. It's countless times better. Cultivating in Yuanlu will allow your cultivation to improve by leaps and bounds. The expert from the Divine Dragon Valley continued to speak. His tone was filled with temptation. Some of the geniuses who had joined the Divine Dragon Valley had their eyes lit up. Senior, I'm willing to go with you. Me too. A few of the young geniuses nodded. Senior, I still have something to do in the mainland of godly ruins. I might have to wait for some time, Lu Ming said. Then, Long Qin also said that he would go after some time. All right, Lu Ming, Long Qin, take these 2 tokens. They represent that you are disciples of the Dragon God Valley. There is some information about you in them. I will give you 2 years. After 2 years, come here with the tokens and the disciples of the Dragon God Valley will come to pick you up. The Dragon God Valley expert tossed 2 tokens to Lu Ming and Long Qin. Lu Ming caught them and kept them. It is the same for the Sky Universe Demon Sect. If you are willing, you can follow me to the Yuanlu. If you are busy now, you can come back in 2 years. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect said. It's the same for the Heavenly Divine Sect. The 9 Heaven Sword Sect is the same. The conditions of the other 3 sects were the same as the Dragon God Valley. Those who were willing to go to the Yuanlu could leave immediately. Those who were unwilling could come back 2 years later with a disciple token and someone would pick them up. Naturally, most of the youths expressed that they would head to Yuanlu immediately. For example, Yi Dian, Bing Kong, Xian Yanjuan and Yang Patian also expressed that they would head to Yuanlu immediately. As for Xian Yanqing, he shook his head and said that he would wait for 2 years before heading to Yuanlu. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, you guys can stay in a broken place like the continent of God. When we meet again in 2 years, I will definitely surpass you guys. Xian Yanjuan gritted her teeth. She was happy that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were going to stay in the continent of God, but she also despised them. In fact, most of the Sky Prides despised them. Some of them could not figure it out. Cultivators should prioritize their cultivation. Moreover, Sky Prides like them were at the golden age of their cultivation. It was the time for them to advance by leaps and bounds. 2 years was enough for them to reverse the situation. They were confident that they would be able to trample Lu Ming under their feet in 2 years' time. In the end, only 5 or 6 of them decided not to go for the time being. The Divine Wilderness continent occupied 3 continents. Surprisingly, Ji Hongchen did not go either. It was obvious that she had something important to do and would leave in 2 years' time. Alright, that's it for this time. You guys can leave now. The Divine Sect will reward the 4 Divine Palaces according to their contributions, the white-haired elder of the Divine Sect said. Subsequently, the experts of the other 3 sects also said the same thing. The sovereigns of the 4 Divine Palaces were overjoyed. The examination of Yuanlu's sect had come to an end. Many of the onlookers slowly dispersed. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing and the others followed the black-clothed middle-aged man from Southern Divine Palace back to their residence. They were going to return to Southern Divine Palace. Southern Divine Palace would then send out a flying ship to send them back to their continents. It was worth mentioning that the black-clothed middle-aged man and the other experts from Southern Divine Palace treated Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing and Long Chen very well. They seemed to respect them. It was not difficult for the crowd to understand that Lu Ming and the others were now disciples of Yuanlu's sect. Their identities were completely different from before. The next day, the crowd returned to Southern Divine Palace. When Southern Divine Palace found out that Lu Ming had obtained first place and that Lu Ming was from Divine Wilderness Continent, it naturally caused a wave of admiration and envy. Lu Ming, Long Chen, and Xian Yanqing stayed at General Peak for the time being. Underworld Child, Monk Wuliang, and Moonless Bodhisattva, who had not been selected, also stayed at General Peak. They were waiting for the Southern Divine Palace to arrange a cross-sea flying ship to send them back. The flying ship was not something that could be arranged in a short period of time. They needed to wait for 2 days. Time passed quickly and night fell. Young Master Lu Ming, is Miss Nianqing here? When the sky darkened, a voice suddenly sounded outside General Peak. Lu Ming, who was in the midst of cultivation, ended his cultivation and walked out of the room. He saw Xian Yanqing walking out of the room as well. The 2 of them glanced at each other, feeling a little surprised. They wondered who was looking for them. After the 2 of them walked out of the courtyard, they saw a kind-looking elder standing in the void. This old man is Ji Fu. Greetings to young Master Lu Ming and Miss Nianqing. When he saw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, the old man hurriedly bowed. Senior, there's no need to be so polite. May I know why Senior is looking for the 2 of us? Lu Ming cupped his fists and asked. My young mistress asked me to come. She said that she knows the 2 of you and will be bidding farewell in a few days. She wants to treat the 2 of you to a banquet, the old man said. May I know who your young mistress is? Lu Ming asked curiously. My young mistress is Ji Hongchen. The old man smiled. So it's Miss Ji Hongchen. Lu Ming suddenly understood. It seems that a beauty is thinking about you. On the side, Xian Yanqing pouted and muttered in Lu Ming's ear. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and sent a voice transmission to Xian Yanqing. Didn't she invite you too? I think I'm basking in your glory. Xian Yanqing continued to pout. Then forget it. I'm not going. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Xian Yanqing rather helplessly. Of course I'm going. Do I look like a petty person? Xian Yanqing rolled her eyes at Lu Ming and said, Senior, please lead the way. This, Lu Ming could only sigh. He really could not keep up with the girl's brain circuit. Young Master Lu Ming, Miss Nianqing, please follow me. The old man was overjoyed and turned to lead the way. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.